No one from the army's told me anything, or my regiment. No one's given me a heads up. I just get this letter. Okay, so I phone them up. Like, what's this all about? And basically, there's this thing kicking off called the Al-Swedi Public Inquiry, where effectively we're all being accused of war crimes. How many podcast guests have been accused of war crimes?
Not many, I don't think, mate. You might be the first one. Welcome back, everybody, to the Ride Companion. We have a guest in studio, Mr. Ben Plenge.
Yes, mate.
And we're going to get into it. Yay!
Filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, something like that. No Olly as well, mate. No Olly.
I know.
He's in Turkey.
Oh, happy days.
Yeah,
good
man.
friend.
He's in Turkey. Gone for is it butt lift? Brazilian butt lift, I think he's gone for. Yeah,
and
he's
his
gone for butt
teeth
lift.
while he's there.
Yeah, he's getting his teeth done there, but it's definitely starting with a butt lift, which is, I mean, he needs it.
Happy days.
So that's where Olly is. He should be back soon.
Yeah, I must admit, well, I'm not jealous of the butt lift, but some sun would be nice right now,
Mate,
wouldn't it?
I'm ready for some vitamin D
Depths
as well.
of winter.
Yeah, there's not much vitamin D coming out of the North England at the moment. It's tough pickings up there. So I was thinking how we could start this episode off. So I figured I'm going to do something a little different. All right.
Alrighty. Ambush.
I was going to show you a picture, and then we'll use this as like a lead off to talk about. Trust me, just trust me.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to show you a picture. It's going to come up on screen if you're watching on YouTube. There's the picture. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you describe what that picture is?
That is Afghanistan, almost, what would that be, 2008? Yeah,
So
16 years ago. It's me in Afghanistan 16 years ago, almost exactly, probably within a couple of weeks. Wet, soaking wet, actually, head to toe from
Really?
from a ditch, from I guess quite a spicy day at work
There
in
you
my
go.
in my
Mate,
in my
perfect lift-off point
in
for
my
the show.
previous life, you
There
know.
you go. Perfect lift-off point.
Yeah.
I kind of thought we'll just mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, why not?
'Cause
Yeah.
For those listening as well or watching, Ben, you've been on the podcast before a few times.
In the Hook It days.
In the Hook It days, back in the day, mate. We once did one
OG.
in Sheffield in our old studio, which wasn't
Yeah.
even a studio. It was two chairs in a room.
It was an office, but it was cool.
Yeah, it was
it
pretty
worked.
cool. It was cool. You were one of the first people to do that as well. Filmed it on a GoPro 6 or something. It was the worst.
Potato,
But
yeah.
Things have changed a little bit. But yeah, so you've done on the show a few times, and I was, like I said, I was just kind of thinking like, okay, how can we talk about some stuff that maybe you haven't talked about that much on other shows that you've done, because you've done Downtime a few times.
Yeah,
quite a lot
Vital,
actually. You
a few
almost
bits.
co-host there.
Yeah.
So you've not done this one for a bit, so people might not necessarily know much about you. So I figured good lift-off point is
Yeah,
talking
man.
about that picture,
Yeah.
that time of your life, and then we'll sort of try and figure out how that's maybe
Yeah. How it
here
all
now
ties.
doing this. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
all
So
ties in.
so yeah.
MTB backstory.
yeah, let's do some backstory, mate. It's fun. It's fun to know more about people, I think. So that photo, Afghanistan, 2008.
Yeah.
What was going on in your life then? Why you're out there? How long have you been out there?
Yeah.
It's quite a tough topic, this one. I
Yeah,
know. It's
yeah.
kind
Like
of-
where to start? I mean,
Yeah.
look, a teenager with too much energy,
Okay.
couldn't sit still. Was, a bright lad,
Yeah.
lots of potential, untapped at school because I was too immature and I couldn't fucking sit still. The story that maybe a lot of people and a lot of mountain bikers might be familiar with, might sound familiar.
Yeah.
And went off to uni because back then that was affordable and feasible to go and just like grow up a bit.
Okay.
Because it was really cheap then.
Yeah.
Compared to now, which is insane.
like
Like
£9
that's
or
an
something,
expensive
isn't
way
it?
to grow up.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah, I
isn't it?
don't fancy 50 grand of debt just to grow up a bit because I was like, I was a boy at 18 still, like physically and sort of,
Okay.
like a late developer and like immature. Went off to uni, and it's funny. I kind of got through uni, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just did
What did
geography.
you do at uni then?
Oh, geography and
Geography.
BMX.
Geography and
Basically.
BMX studies.
Yeah, exactly.
If only that was a thing. I think.
And I
there'd be
wasn't
a lot
that
of
good at
people going
either.
through.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't that good at either. And I don't know why I'd never thought of it sooner because my whole life I'd loved like war films and always like played with sticks, pretending to be guns. And I wanted to watch cowboy films and James Bond films and all of that stuff. And I'd never thought of joining the army. And I think about it now, like, why did I never think of this? Why did I never say, I think I'm going to be a soldier one day? Because at the recruiting fair at the end of uni, the fellas were there on their table with their brochure. And I was like, you can join the army, son. I was like, yeah, I can join the army. And
wow.
Yeah, and literally the recruiting fair at the end of 3 years, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I looked into it, went along, did the interviews. And before you know it, 6 months after uni, I'm rocking up at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst because I'm going to go and try to be an officer in the army.
Wow.
That was 2002, so 22 years old, you know.
Yeah. Is that normally how they do it, like recruiting? Is it normally at the end of unis and stuff? I guess.
Well, they recruit from all over, but they definitely go to like university, like careers fairs, and there'll be people who already know they want to do it. Maybe they're in the OTC, like the Officer Training Corps, or just, you don't have to have gone to uni to go in as an officer. There's sort of different routes in, but that's definitely one of them, stuff like that. And it just gave me that awareness. You could then, because there wasn't like probably a website then on my dial-up, my student house with the mice and stuff. And I sort of went off, and all of a sudden you're just immersed in this whole new world with a new vocabulary and a way of doing things, and you're going through basic training and
what are the requirements at that point? Like what are they looking for? I find this stuff actually really interesting.
Yeah.
When they're at the recruitment fair, what are they looking for?
So there's like a 2-stage process that you have to get through. One is like I think they call it a briefing course, where it's more you learning about the process, but they have a first look at you, and they're looking at sort of problem solving, communication skills, and sort of potential like leadership, basically. Because I don't think many like 21-year-olds have got amazing leadership skills, but maybe just some potential that you could be sort of honed the way they want you,
And they find that through a series of tests?
So group discussions, debates, there's like a physical test to it, like a little physical element, which is fairly easy at the start. And then when you go back for the full assessment, they do things like called command tasks, where imagine on a corporate day and you've got to get the team from this platform to this platform. You got 4 planks and 3 tires, and you can only use your left hand. And they put you in charge to see how you organise people. Can you be calm, and can you be rational and stuff like that? And they're basically judging you on that. And then at the end of that, you either get offered a place to go to Sandhurst, or you get a deferred, where they say, look, you can come back and try this again in 6 months or a year when you've matured more or grown up more, or they say just never come back, basically. But so I got straight through that. How, I don't know, whatever, I don't know, but I enjoyed it, and it was good. Were
you in the mindset of like you want to do, like if they'd have said, sorry son,
no, I really wanted
6 months,
to.
would you have gone back?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I at that point I was really like, I want to do this. Although at that stage of my life, I was definitely quite happy-go-lucky. I didn't think much past this afternoon, let alone tomorrow. That was very much my outlook through the whole of uni and sort of teenage years, which is why I didn't do so well at my A-levels and stuff, But yeah, like that was very much my outlook. I wasn't ever thinking long-term. But I thought, I'll go and do the army. I thought it looks fun. You get to do loads of cool stuff. I really wanted to shoot a gun. I did want to. For years, I've been fantasizing about war, like a lot of young lads do, watching films and stuff. I wanted to. There weren't any wars going on, but I thought, I didn't think I would get to do anything at that time. And so Sandhurst is mental. Like this year at this like old military academy in these old buildings steeped in tradition, and there's the uniforms, and you're getting shouted at, and like all your stuff gets thrown across the room. You're like, and then you do press ups, and you're learning to be a soldier. You learn to shoot. You learn to live in the field, and then they feed in the like leadership side as well, because that's your role as an officer. Is because then I would then go on after that to join my battalion. Where I was then a platoon commander is my first job, basically. Okay.
And if you could describe what a platoon commander is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Again, this is what the jargon.
I'm not military.
No, that's cool.
I've got Doug, who's quite, you know what I mean? He knows his stuff, but he's not here. He's here, but he's not.
It looks like he runs a tight ship.
He does run a tight ship.
Got it squared away. Yeah, so basically there's different parts of the army with different roles. I joined the infantry, which is the fighting soldiers, if you like. And then you've also got like tanks and artillery and logistics and all these different parts basically. And they're then broken down into smaller units. So I joined a battalion, which is like, I don't know, 500, 600 blokes, which is then split down into sort of 4 or 5 companies. And within the company, there would generally be 3 platoons. So in my platoon then, I think I had 35 blokes, and we were armoured infantry at the time. So we were in these vehicles called Warrior armoured fighting vehicles. And it basically looks like a tank, but with a smaller like gun and sort of turret. And because we were infantry, you got a back door with like 6 blokes in the back. And so there's 4 of those in my platoon, and I went in and I was platoon commander for Nasty 9 Platoon, C Company, 1st Battalion, the Princess of Wales's Royal Regiment, the finest regiment in the British Army.
No doubt.
You know it.
So, so you go through the training.
Yeah.
Enjoy the training side, obviously, as well.
Yeah,
so
it's hard, but I loved it. Yeah.
Is there like an equivalent of BUDS in the UK? Is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the BUDS is extreme. And it's the thing we've all heard of, because the Navy SEALs are very much out in the public, you know, and we know everything they do. And so there's nothing that extreme and that gnarly there, because they don't want to weed out 80 or 90%. They actually need a good proportion to pass. And there are standards you need to hit. And there are very hard days and very hard periods of training with like minimal sleep, and it's physically hard. You're carrying super heavy weights, especially at the start of training, where you still haven't had that time. You know, for me, I was like still quite small. Like I was still growing until I was like 21. Like I swear, I didn't have like a teenage growth spurt. I mean, I'm not even 5'10" now. I still haven't had a growth spurt, Davey.
Still coming.
But it's still, mate, it might happen.
I'm still
one
holding
day.
on to this beard.
Yeah.
It's been,
but and so I was
years.
still. I remember like I was fit enough, you know, and I was kind of in the middle of the platoon and stuff. But it was hard because I was still like quite a small frame, and then they load up this massive Bergen, like this backpack, and you're like, you know, and I found it really hard at the start. But then after time, you get used to it, you get stronger, you get fitter, you eat loads. They just feed you. and then you start to fill out and get stronger, and you just get used to suffering. Your mind game gets stronger. And that's what it's all about, you know, and that's maybe something we'll talk about later. How this military experience and that world really relates to, you know, being a better mountain biker, like my day job now and stuff like that. And so
what did life look like then before getting deployed?
So
like, what do you do? Like, what's the day like?
A lot of people are always sort of curious about that. So I was the start of the career there. I was like based on camp in Tidworth down in Wiltshire, and you kind of go in these cycles in the army where you're either in a bit of a downtime where it's like low level training and stuff like that, or you're ramping up to go somewhere and do a big operation or a big overseas exercise, or you're actually doing one of those things. You're on an operation like Iraq, Afghanistan, or a big exercise where maybe you go to Kenya or the jungle or Canada, or then the post-exercise where it's like leave, bit of rest, bit of a slower pace. And that's kind of the cycle that the battalions, the units will all go through, is stuff like that. And not long after joining battalion, we were back in camp, and, you know, while I was at Sandhurst, the Iraq War had happened in 2003. And I remember me and my mates were like, oh, God, we missed it, you know. Like,
you wanted to be?
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, you don't join the army and want to go in the infantry.
You don't want to avoid it. We
were like gutted. We were like, oh, if only I was a year older. If I hadn't taken that 6 months gap after uni, maybe we'd be out there. And like, we were just gutted. We're like, we've missed it. But little did I know, like, we really hadn't missed it because... and this will sound mental, Davey, because I think I'm quite a normal, relaxed, friendly, kind person. But I was in the army for 8 years, and I got just like a dream time to be in, like the perfect time. Where just as I got in, everything ramped up, and then there were like proper demanding operations and stuff. You know, as I was joining, all my staff who were training me at Sandhurst, 99% of them had never fired a round. Like maybe they'd fired like one
Really?
round in Northern Ireland or a round in Kosovo. They knew someone who'd fired a burst on a machine gun.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against them. It's just bad luck. It's just timing.
It's just what, yeah.
Yeah. And they're like hard men and soldiers who I respect to this day, but they just hadn't, because there'd been nothing going on. And I joined at just the right time to, and it sounds mad saying it, because, it changed my life, as potentially we'll get into, like with some of my experiences in that time and afterwards, that kind of have made me the man I am today without overselling it. So we're in camp one day, and the CO, the commanding officer, gets us all in the cinema on camp, and it's like, right, in 6 months we're all going to Iraq. It's like, everyone's like, yeah, fucking get in, and we didn't know what to expect, because the war had happened, and at this point it must have been late 2003, maybe even, it must have been late 2003. It was all quiet. We'd won the war, we'd smashed everyone with the airstrikes, and then all the armour had gone in, and there'd been some stuff had gone down, but Saddam's forces had kind of melted away, and now they were looking for the WMDs, mate, which I'm sure we've all heard about. Because
the weapons of
mass destruction. Exactly. the whole reason that I got to fight in that illegal war, but that's for another podcast. Yes. And so we then start ramping up the training to go to Iraq as an armoured battle group, basically. And so you go through this mad training cycle, and it's amazing.
6 months is a long cycle as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a long time. I mean, built into that, there's a bit of leave before you go and bits like that. But you start off with more general training, and then you do more specific training. So you do a bit of Arabic, you do as well as your normal war fighting training. You're doing vehicle checkpoints and learning about the Iraq and the political situation, but also doing a lot of hearts and minds stuff, learning about that stuff, because we thought it'd be a bit more of a peacekeeping role, help to train the local police and stuff like that. And as it turns out, that wasn't really the case, because then deployed to Iraq in April 2004, just a few days after my 24th birthday. And basically, it sounds mental, and I think whether I should say it, but just had the most intense, most insane, but also, and I feel bad if my wife or kids ever listen to it, but the best summer of my life as well, where I lived all of my dreams of war and combat. All came true, and was very lucky to come back intact mentally, physically, emotionally, and all my boys came back as well. Right? And that wasn't always the case.
Not always the case.
So that summer, that tour, Optelic 4, based in a place called Al-Amara in Iraq, in southern Iraq, was kind of expected to be pretty chill, because actually that area had been heavily persecuted by Saddam. And when we first got there, kind of the feeling was that a lot of people were really pleased to have us there. Saddam being kicked out, so he would persecute these people horrifically. Obviously not a good dude. And so it's well, maybe they're going to be happy to have us there, and a lot of the people were, but there was a large and very motivated militia that definitely weren't. And so I remember it really well, because you're going on this tour thinking, will anything happen? Will I get to fire my rifle? Will I have a contact, which is what the term is for enemy contact? And if it happens, I've done all this training.
What's going to happen?
Can I handle my shit?
Yeah.
Do I panic? Do I freeze? Do I have what it takes, both in my individual skills as a soldier, but also as a leader and a commander? And you're worried, worried more than scared. Am I
apprehensive?
And you're also apprehensive that you're going to go there and go for 6 months and nothing will happen, which you wouldn't like. But as part of this process, you kind of go to the big logistics base, and then all the command element go forward. You go advanced party, so the company commander, the platoon commanders, the sergeants, they all go forwards to do a handover, to get familiar with what's going on before the whole company in the battalion goes up. And we were getting handed over to from the light infantry.
Okay.
And they'd had a pretty quiet tour, you know, like all through the winter, nothing been going on. And just as they were handing over to us, I think the dial started to turn like that spring, where I'm out on like my first familiarisation patrol, like with the LI, and we're driving along, and I'm in the back of his wagon, like speaking to him, and he's telling me what's, you know, this is this place, this is that place, so you're familiar. And then all of a sudden it says bang, ba, 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 and it's like fucking hell. Like sit in the back, like what's going on, and then you can hear the rounds like banging off the armour, and like RPGs going off, and then the chain gun on the vehicle we're in starts like firing up the gunner in the turrets, just like getting the rounds down the chain gun. And anyway, they just drove through that, and we get back, and I'm like, whoa. So like I was just sort of sat in the back, but I've definitely just been shot at. Like this has just happened.
Yeah.
Like whoa, and my platoon isn't even here yet. I'm thinking, whoa, okay, this is a bit much. And he's like, yeah, fucking hell, that was a bit...
It was a surprise for them as well.
Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah, they hadn't had much.
What? This might be a silly question, but what actually does change? Why did that sentiment that the other infantry, I think that's what you call it, has been left alone?
Yeah, the light infantry. Just
and then all of a sudden it changes.
Who knows? Just like that was their... Yeah, I don't know, something I said. Who knows? Just
is it tactics on the opposite side? We'll lure them into a false sense of security. It's going to take months, and then we'll...
I don't know. I think it's probably a case of reorganising themselves over that winter, those winter months, seeing how the ground lay and what was going on after the invasion in 2003.
Okay.
And also my general experience of Iraq and Afghanistan is that the winters were quieter and less violent, because actually, even in Iraq, the winter could be pretty hard, I think, for a lot of people. A lot of them are kind of working to support their family and make sure everyone survives the winter.
Right.
So spring is like really fighting season. Summer then gets a bit hot, it chills out, and then they do a bit more in the autumn before like winter like calms down. And so maybe it's that kind of annual cycle, but I don't know. Okay. But
wow.
Yeah, and then literally a couple of days later, we're on another familiarisation patrol. We're going down south of where we were to a place called Majar al-Kabir, which had been in all the papers because that's where 6 Royal Military Police had been, basically a mob had sort of like cornered them in a police station and murdered them,
right.
like in late 2003, I think. So we were being taken down there to see... to understand, you know, you want to understand the ground and what's going on and where everything is in relation to each other. And we'd gone down there in about like 4 or 5 Land Rovers with the outgoing light infantry guys, which with hindsight, Land Rovers wasn't the best idea, because we'd been there and there's one road in and one road out. And so then on the way out, you can kind of guess what happens now. I'm stood then, because I'm not in a command position in this, I'm stood on the back of the Land Rover, like as what's called top cover, which wouldn't normally be something an officer would do. You'd normally be in the front, like navigating and on the radio and stuff. And then all of a sudden, from like a couple hundred metres across the field, it just like lights up, bah, 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 and you can see the like rounds all splashing in the field, hitting the ground like behind, and an RPG goes behind the wagon. And I just remember it so well that I just sort of like pushed myself into the corner of the like roll cage of the Land Rover, and you're doing like 30, 40 miles an hour, and I just like pulled my rifle into my shoulder and just did exactly what I've been fucking trained to do. Like, and it's a cliche, the training just kicks in, because I wasn't scared. And it's not because I'm hard or a nutter. You just don't have time to. I was like, literally, I've done this 1,000 times, and I got my first rounds down, and I was like, whoa, I've actually I got like 2 mags down. I was like, oh, sick, this is awesome, because everyone just drove through. There's a couple of holes in the Land Rover, and everyone's just buzzing, like, this is cool. Yeah. And then like the next day, my platoon turn up, and I'm like, we need our shit tied down, because this is the real deal here. Like,
jeez.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's like, it's weird. I kind of get, it feels strange talking about it, and because I think, so we talked a little bit before, like, about backstory and do we do this, and it still feels weird talking about it, because I only talked about it to anybody within the last couple of years.
Oh, really?
Like my closest friends, my family, my wife.
Right, wow.
Yeah,
and I can imagine it's hard.
Yeah, and I get like
yeah.
a kind of emotion. I get a bit like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, not because it's bad memories, but just because the memories are so strong and it's so intense. And I get like, if I had a heart rate monitor on now, like you'd be up, you know, just because it's so such a mad period of my life. But
yeah, it's the craziest, isn't it?
yeah, but because then that was just the start though, Davey, mate. It then just like cranked up harder, and we had this period then of a couple of months, and I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not fucking blowing my own trumpet, but every single day for probably 2 months, if not longer, I was in a firefight, if not 2 or 3. One in maybe the morning, it gets too hot in the day because it's 40, 50 degrees, and they don't want to fight in that. And then in the evening, every night you'd be out, and every night there's people trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And you're trying to kill them.
How do you
and
navigate and rationalise that every day waking up?
Because it was mental, and but you don't have time to think, because the whole time, you know, for 2 months I'm probably getting 4 to 6 hours sleep a day consistently, and some days you're getting 2 or 3 hours for like a week at a time. And when you are back in camp, the camp's getting mortared and rocketed, and it's just like, it's just mental. It's like not what, it's relentless, and it's not what anyone had expected.
Yeah.
And we're just going out every day and fighting, and then like and at this point it's all like, I mean, but I'm loving it. It's the dream.
It's what you signed up for.
What I signed up for, which sounds crazy, and I think, was
the time out there where you were thinking,
this
I mean, isn't definitely what I signed up for?
Not so much that, but there's definitely times where, you know, you just like, you've just been on and you're stressed and you can't wind down, and you're back in your like camp bed afterwards, and your ears are ringing, and you've been out and it's been 40, 50 degrees and helmet and body armor, and you're just physically drained, and it's afterwards that you really think about, the close calls, the what could have beens, and this, you know, you get scared and things like that. But yeah, I mean, and then I guess the big thing that then happened as part of all of this, that really then had a big long-term effect on my life until this day, is on May the 14th, there was something called the Battle of Danny Boy, which, if you're into like modern military history, a lot of people will have read about it. It's been a few books. There was a few years ago, there was like a BBC dramatisation of it. Right, okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm not aware, so I'm...
No, it's cool. It's cool. And I didn't expect anyone to be aware. And like, why should people, like, who, in a way, like, who cares as well? I mean, which is why I sometimes feel funny, like, talking about it. I don't know.
People care.
But, and I don't... Yeah. But yeah, so, Battle of Danny Boy, May the 14th. My platoon are on QRF, Quick Reaction Force. So there's always, whenever there's people on the ground, you always have a QRF in camp ready to roll to help with a casualty or to help reinforce, you know. And so we're in camp and we're on like 10 minutes notice to move. So the vehicles are by the gate, the blokes are just chilling out, playing cards, smoking. And their kit's right by them. And then, because I'm the platoon commander, I'm then sat in the ops room, listening to the radio, so I know what's going on the ground. You know, I've got an idea what's going on, so I'm situationally aware. And then I become aware that there's this big firefight south of where we are, down near Majara Al-Kabir, by this permanent vehicle checkpoint called Danny Boy. It's just the code name we've given it. Obviously, the Iraqis don't give a name like that. And so this call sign from the Argyll and Southern Highlanders said they were really pinned down. It was like real heavy. They were in Land Rovers. They'd taken casualties. So the QRF, we get bombed out, it's called. So we jump in the wagons and the whole platoon is going down of 4 wagons, but we would work in pairs.
Okay.
And as we went down there, before we get to where they are, so we're just short of this Danny Boy place, we just get hit by this like massive ambush at the side of the road. And at this point we split then. So the other half of my platoon, with my platoon sergeant, they carry on south to the Argylls to help them. And we basically sort of stop in this area, basically, where you're on what's probably one of the better roads. It's kind of like a dual carriageway in fairly good nick for Iraq, you know. And then there's this big like storm drain, concrete drainage ditch to the side. Then it's flat as a pancake. Like they call it farmland, but I'm not sure what's growing there. It's like dusty, it's scrubby, it's pretty desolate, you know, especially in May. You know, it hasn't rained in a while, and it's just like the heaviest fire that I'd been under at the time, and it's just like banging off the side of the wagon. RPGs, like sort of medium machine gun, all that sort of thing, and we just start getting the rounds back down. And it's actually like really well organized, like enemy kind of thing, where they knew that we'd be going down there to them, and so this was then to sort of catch us. They had dug trenches, they were kind of supporting each other, like it was properly organized with a lot of ammunition. And a lot of fighters, it turned out, in the long run as well. And some other vehicles came and joined us. So there's just this big dust-up going on. And then, basically, because this drainage ditch, not sure if we can really cross over it in the vehicles without rolling them. And you don't want to roll a sort of 35-ton... yeah, exactly. And you'd never live it down. Like, more importantly, is... and so basically we get a load of the boys out the back of my vehicle, and they get out the back of one of the 8 platoon vehicles as well. And so there's about 6 or 7 lads that get together, including one of them, a guy called Corporal Brian Wood, who has now written a book. He went on Jocko podcast. Right. He's very high profile. He won a military cross for his actions that day. And him and one of the corporals from my platoon, who also won a military cross that day, worked together and basically did bayonets fixed, full frontal assault across this open ground. And
what does that mean?
What
does bayonets fixed mean?
Well, so as a matter of course, you wouldn't have a bayonet fixed to the end of your rifle. It'll be in your belt kit.
Okay.
Because it's really easy to accidentally poke you or someone else with it, which you don't want to do. And also it can slightly reduce like the range and accuracy of the rifle.
Right.
But at your like infantry battle schools and stuff, you're taught, you know, at the final phase of the assault, you fix bayonets, because at that point you're entering a trench. If your weapon doesn't work, if you run out of ammo, if it stops or whatever, then that's where it goes. Yeah. Which is mental to think about in any time really, but in 2004, you know, with all this modern technology, but that's where things went. Yeah. And so they do this across the open ground. And as they do that, I'm like, say to my driver, Oscar, I'm like, Oscar, do you think you can get us across that ditch? Because I'm not sure. And Oscar's like an amazing driver. He's like one of the best drivers in the company. And he's like, yeah, boss, I'll get us across. So I'm like, okay, if you say you can do it, you can do it. So we get across. And so we're giving them like fire support, firing them into it, and they do that. So anyway, we effectively like win the battle. I say we, like, it's not just like there's like 2 tanks turn up as well from the Queen's Royal Lancers. Right. Saw that fire its main gun. That was mental. Like, you don't want to be on the end of that. No way. So that was like a little life goal tick, seeing that fire. And then there were the 8 platoon vehicles. And then towards the end of the battle, the company commander and company sergeant major turned up because they'd been in another fight somewhere in the city. Right. Like, it was a mad day. Wow. And so by the end, there's quite a lot of vehicles, a lot of people there. You know, I'm not saying it's like we single-handedly won it. I'm not trying to... No. But the battle's over. There's no more shooting. And then at the end, you go through this process of, like, it's called the reorg, where you then kind of get reorganized so that you're ready for a counterattack. So you get in defense, make sure everyone's got ammo, you treat casualties, you deal with enemy dead and enemy wounded and prisoners and stuff.
Were there any, excuse me, were there any of those?
All of them.
All of above. Yeah. Okay.
So, which is going to be the thing that kind of gets really fucking heavy in a minute.
Okay.
So they took, I can't remember, maybe like 9 prisoners. So they'll get plastic cuffed and they get taken to Sergeant Major. I think there's 1 or 2, I can't remember actually, enemy injured. But basically, in this area that's immediately available to us, I think there's in the region of like 20 plus enemy dead. And basically an order comes over the radio. We want you to bring the enemy dead back to camp because we want to see if any of them are off our hit list, the people we want to get.
Yeah.
Any of them are the suspects who killed the Royal Military Police, and have we got any real big players? Bring them back to camp. And at the time you think, well, I've never done this before. Maybe it's, and you're just like, yeah, right, boys, you get them picking up the bodies. Yeah. It's not nice.
No.
Load them in the back of the vehicle. Yeah, we all go back to camp. And I knew, like, that night, as we, like, scrubbed the fucking litres of blood from the back of our vehicle, and there's, like, a chilled ISO container full of dead bodies that had been brought back to camp to be photographed and stuff, that it had been an unusual and exceptional day. But again, there was no chance to like process it because guess what? We went back on QRF, we had some food, we cleaned the wagon, we got new ammo, got a few hours sleep, and then probably by midnight I was back out. Just fucking go again. You go again.
Yeah.
And over the next couple of days we were all like interviewed by the Royal Military Police because it had been so extreme.
Yeah, are they concerned for your mental state, welfare?
No.
What is it?
No, there's none of that.
Right.
They are kind of making sure nothing untoward had gone on because of how many people have been killed and captured and how many rounds have got fired, and it was a pretty exceptional day. And in theory, it's kind of their army, but they should be impartial. It's like a kind of almost like a top cover. They're like saying right from the start, look, we're looking into this now. We're going to get statements now straight after it happened so that we can kind of account for this. So if down the line anything happens, but as it turns out, like it's didn't quite do what it was supposed to.
Right.
So anyway, so the bodies will get photographed and they get returned like really quickly because we're culturally aware that because they're Muslims, they have to be buried within 24 hours. So they get returned like after a matter of hours. They're returned to the like the tribal elders because that's how they roll down there.
Wow.
To be dealt with. Anyway, so the tour continues. I could tell a million. I know it sounds like fucking really wanky. Yeah, there's some stories, a lot of stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was amazing. Like I'm like grinning because I got to fire all the way. I got to call in airstrikes. I got to
and
call
I guess
in
it's the group thing, group element.
Yeah. Just me and my
The
platoon,
lads, yeah.
Nasty 9 platoon, all 35, all the boys. We all came home. Everyone put it all on the line for each other. Everyone was there, and just like the growth as like a young leader, because I made mistakes, mate.
Yeah.
1,000 mistakes, like I still do, but we all came home, and I think I did all right,
Yeah.
There were no like glaring ones, that were too bad.
Wow.
So then, look, this isn't just like a war podcast, whatever. But because you showed me that picture from Afghanistan, because I put it on my Instagram because sometimes I talk about the parallels and the experiences of the army and how it makes me a better coach and how the lessons I learned there can help you to be a better rider and stuff like that.
Because sorry to interrupt you. Your major takeaways from leaving the army.
Yeah.
I always get confused. Can I call it?
Definitely come back to that?
Yes. Should we just do a quick ad break?
Go on then.
All right, folks. Let's be real for a second. If you're watching this podcast or listening, then chances are you've probably got a face. Right? Got a face? Yeah, everyone's got a face. We also all love mountain biking, getting outside and pushing our boundaries to the limit. But do you know what really takes a beating? Our skin. Sun, sweat, stress, and let's face it, just existing all add up over the years. One day you're looking fresh, feeling invincible. And the next you catch yourself in the mirror and you're thinking, when did I start looking like I've been riding against a headwind for a decade? Or maybe you see a vision of Olly and you think, holy, I need to sort this out. Anyway, that's where OneSkin comes in. OneSkin is the world's first OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company tackling aging at the molecular level, because moisturizer, it ain't cutting it anymore. The OS01 peptide is scientifically proven to reverse the skin's biological age by targeting those worn out, troublemaking cells that make us look older than we feel. Think of it like bike maintenance for your face, except instead of lubing your chain, you're restoring your skin to peak performance. Smoother, firmer, younger looking skin. No weird gimmicks, just straight up science. So, if you want your face to match the youthful energy you feel when you drop into a new trail, or at least make it look like you get more sleep than you actually do, that's quite important. It's time to start your new face, eye, and body routine today. Get 15% off with the code Ride Companion at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code Ride Companion. Remember, we only get one body, one skin, and only you can choose to make it better. Age healthy with OneSkin. Cheers, OneSkin. Back in. Great ad break.
And so, I mean, let's just gloss through and then the rest of my career. We'll come back to that lessons thing, because that is important. And I don't want it to just be Ben gobbing off telling war stories, because I don't know. It still feels strange. I was so lucky with my career. I then got to live in Germany. I lived in Northern Ireland. I got to be recce platoon commander, reconnaissance platoon, which is the best platoon in the battalion. I got to spend 2 years training recruits at basic training, which I loved. It was so good, like taking like these young lads and girls actually, and young women through that process and moulding them into, like, just seeing them grow. It was just brilliant. And then I got to do an Afghanistan tour, which felt more dangerous, even though it was less violent, just because things had ramped up there. That's where that photo's from.
Right.
Where I had so much like freedom and responsibility. I commanded my own patrol base barbarian. It was sick. Where, like loads of stuff happened, but it's kind of less pivotal. Okay. They're like just, again, touch wood, like they're just more good, great experiences, you know. And then I got out in 2010. I'd done 8 years. I'd done a tour of each, one Afghanistan, one Iraq, and I'd loved it. Yeah. I'd lived in Cyprus as well, and I'd had this amazing time. And now I'm living in London. I'm living in a flat in London. I've just started out as a personal trainer, trying to find my feet. And it's not that easy getting out. It's a difficult transition.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm living with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and life is good. And one day this letter like lands on the doorstep, kind of official brown envelope. It says Treasury Solicitors Service. Okay, what's that? Open that. We just want to get in touch with you and arrange a time to have a chat about this thing called the Al-Saweedi Public Inquiry. Oh, okay. I haven't heard about that. I mean, I watched the news, but I hadn't picked up on this. No one from the army's told me anything, or my regiment. No one's given me a heads up. I just get this letter. Okay, so I phone them up. Like, what's this all about? And basically, there's this thing kicking off called the Al-Saweedi Public Inquiry, where effectively we're all being accused of war crimes. how many podcast guests have been accused of war crimes?
Not many, I don't think, mate. You might be the first
including,
one.
And including, that basically the allegations from the Iraqis under the guidance of this poisonous fucking lizard of a lawyer called Phil Shiner, who ended up getting struck off after all of this because he was completely corrupt.
Right.
And it was all, as you'll hear, a sham. And hopefully you immediately think I was innocent. But basically they're like, these are all just innocent farmers in the field that we just would drive you along, and that we killed them all. And then we took them all back to camp. They were all alive, and they were then tortured and executed in the camp before returning their mutilated bodies.
Wow.
And you're like, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
On like a summer Wednesday in Hammersmith.
Yeah.
Phoning him up from my flat, like, oh, that's come out of nowhere. And at this point, I'm like, have I been accused of something? They're like, no, nobody's directly accused of anything. At this point, it's a public inquiry to find out if there was wrongdoing. But if the public inquiry did find there was wrongdoing, the next step is then people are going to be prosecuted. And if they're found guilty, go to prison. And there wasn't anyone saying, Ben, you have done this or that. That wasn't directed like that. But yeah, and so then you arrange a time and you go, and like the Treasury solicitors are there to effectively represent us and our best interests. So they're appointed for us. You don't have to pay for a solicitor in this public inquiry, where, and like this is like the kind of this aftermath is like the gnarliest bit for me.
Really,
that then, I can't remember what year this was. This is probably 8 years later. And I haven't talked to anyone about this day. My girlfriend doesn't know about it. My best mates don't know. My mates who were there know what we all did, but we never fucking talked about it because you didn't.
You don't, yeah.
We got home, we just went on the piss, Davey.
Yeah.
Because that's what you did.
Yeah.
And first of all, then they got the statement I gave at the time to the RMP, and they're reading through it, and they've got maps and photos, and they're asking me about what happened, and like, this is what you said at the time. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that was the day after. So that's what happened. And then at that point, so it's kind of like bringing it all to the surface, just like completely unexpected. Like not really knowing what was going on, and a bit anxious about where this is going, even though they were nice people there, but they had a really difficult job to do. And then they bring out this file, and they're like, this bit's not very nice. And it's basically the photographs that have been taken of all the people that we had killed that day.
Yeah.
And they go through them one by one. Do you recognise this person? Do you know where he was on the battlefield? Do you think that you or your platoon killed him? I don't know. It's fucking... No, I don't know. Like, most of them wear pretty much the same gear. It's all like black or dark brown, like the baggy, Iraqi clothing that everyone wears. They all got black hair, and I've literally just gone from like from the gym, from doing personal training clients, to being shown this file of like, I think it's like 28.
That's a lot.
And they don't look very nice. They've all met really violent deaths, And then they're like, oh, cheers. Right, do you want a cup of tea before you go? I'm like, no. And then I just went and we'd arranged to meet my girlfriend and some friends in Fulham for some drinks by the river, because it was a nice warm day, and I just was sitting there like, what's just going on?
Yeah.
And it's still no one from the army, no one from my regiment had contacted me or any of the boys to check in and say, the ones who were in, I think, who were still in the army, I think got a bit better, but there was nothing. No one gave a fuck.
Wow.
So I just felt really on my own. Yeah. And then...
Were you still in touch with everyone?
Well...
Is that a thing you do?
Yeah, it is. But this is really a turning point where, from this kind of point and through this inquiry, that I then broke touch with everyone.
Right.
And not that I was telling people all the time, but I would never tell someone that I'd been in the army.
Yeah.
I didn't go to Remembrance Sunday for about a decade afterwards. I drifted kind of half on purpose, away from loads of old army friends and colleagues and peers.
Why are you?
Because it just felt really weird.
Okay.
And I just didn't want to think about it, because then the public inquiry comes round then like a year later or whatever, and it's in all the papers, and you're in this big room and there's like press there, there's this poisonous fucking lawyer there, well, ex-lawyer, because he's been struck off, he nearly went to prison, he should have gone to prison before he did.
Yeah.
And you're getting cross-examined again, you know, and shown these fucking photos again.
Yeah.
And and it's like that whole process was harder than doing it on the day.
Yeah. Wow.
And and the only reason that kind of I've actually started to sort of be open about some of my experiences is like a few years ago when, so basically Corporal Brian Wood, who I mentioned earlier, who kind of led that like bayonet kind of attack there, he then had a gnarly time afterwards with some PTSD and all this sort of thing. And there was always fuss made as well. Everyone got fucking medals, and we were in the sun, we were in the paper, it was on the news. It was a big thing. Like, this tour was a big thing. It was the most violent Iraq tour for the British Army, for the whole Iraq campaign. And I was, and it sounds mental, but I was so lucky because I was on that tour. I got the dream tour. And then it all just got like messed up later. Yeah. And then off the back of his book, Corporal Brian Wood, MC, then gets a TV thing, and it was on the BBC. It was called Danny Boy. You can watch it now on iPlayer, I expect. Okay. And it was cool, but then all of a sudden, having been fined for nearly 20 years, he just sort of like, oh, I just brought a lot of stuff to the surface, Davey, you know. And I've touched wood, man, whether it's nature, nurture, or just blind luck, but I still never have like suffered from depression or any of that. I'm always like, I'm pretty happy, positive person. I'm quite an optimist, and and I still am, but I had my first ever wobble, like, whoa, you know, what's going on, where I, you know, had to then talk to someone, and I talked to my wife, and I actually made, I told this story, but I did like my memoirs.
Okay.
But verbally, because I'm never going to sit and write this. So I sat down and recorded like my 4-hour
that's really cool.
Iraq memoirs, thinking it was for myself mostly.
Yeah, and to get it out.
But then just, to get it all out. And it was so valuable to me. Wow. And I know that, we talk like mental health and stuff. But just doing that just was massive for me. And it really just kind of drew a line. And I'm all right. I really am. Like, and if I wasn't, I would tell you.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I thought it is an interesting story. It's quite unique.
It's interesting.
Like that process, that experience, and and I'm back really tight with my army mates now, which is so good for me. And valuable for me, and I value and cherish my relationship with them, and look forward to seeing them. And I go to Remembrance Sunday, and now I like stand there and I wear my medals with pride, and I stand up straight, and I'm proud of what I did. Yeah. And I regret nothing. Yeah. I have a clear conscience. Yeah. And even with that public inquiry and all that shit, I wouldn't change anything. That was still I sound like a psycho, but it was the best summer of my life. It's everything I wanted. Yeah. Everything I wanted. And
crazy story, man.
Yeah.
Crazy life. I mean,
and it's a lifetime. That was 20 years ago. So this 2024 is 20 years since that all happened, that battle, that summer. And as a young man, and the responsibility I had at 24 years old, and the things I did, the freedom was unreal.
Yeah, man. I'm really mindful here about, I don't want to make this about me at all, not even the slightest bit.
I've done a lot of talking, mate.
I just got to at least say this thought. So I've never really spoke about it myself either publicly, but I got diagnosed with PTSD a couple of years ago, probably nearly 3.
From your Loch Ness thing, was it? Or something?
No, I don't talk about it. we don't talk about what it was.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say it because it was like on my brain. And I'm like, I need to just at least say it. But I've never really spoken. I haven't spoken about it publicly, and I probably won't. But what I just wanted to say is like I can sympathise with that, like why it'd bring certain feelings up. And that raw emotion that it does bring up is really quite gnarly for anyone who hasn't been through it. And mate, I've not been in combat or anything.
But it doesn't matter.
But you're right. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's your reality.
Yeah.
Your stress, your pain.
It's gnarly. Like it's a horrible thing to go through. I went through therapy and did all that, and it did kind of help. Yeah. But I still have wobbles. Like it's weird, man. Like
I probably will have another wobble.
Yeah, still have, and mine came up after years of never thinking about it. Yeah. Like never thinking about it, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm cooked. Yeah. Like, do you want to?
I'll lighten it slightly.
Yeah, please. Heavy one.
No. Because what you say is valid, and people get that post-traumatic stress from many things, like from a car accident, from childbirth, from a million things. And it's kind of funny, like when I just had this size wobble, I'd had a really stressful 2 weeks. I'd moved house. This Danny Boy thing came out on BBC, which got me thinking about it loads. Yeah. And then the icing on the cake was my vasectomy.
Was it really? Yeah.
Yeah, getting my balls snipped. Oh, because I was so anxious about it, and it sucked, obviously. And I just that was like the perfect storm to just make me just go like, oh God, this is all a bit too much. I need to have a chat here and have a little bit of a cry or something. Yeah. Because
the thing that I find is when it comes up though, it's up and it doesn't go away until you've had a good chat or been someone.
Yeah, well, it doesn't go away on its own.
No. Once it's up, it's like, oh yeah, you see it everywhere. Yeah. Like it's gnarly.
And it's chat, it's go for a bike ride, it's go outside, be in nature. Like for me, I think part of the reason I am a happy, positive person, and it sounds like I'm bluffing that, like I'm so happy. I probably,
promise.
I really am. Like people who come to the gym every day, they see me. I've got good energy, and I'm so lucky that I'm kind of a bit pre-programmed like that, and I haven't struggled with progression.
Been through what you've been through?
I think so. Like through uni and stuff, and I was a bit of a hedonist, really. I was just like, it was all like whatever you ask me, let's do it. Yeah, like it's 3 a.m. Let's go out. Yeah, let's do it. I don't care what's happening tomorrow. Like I was just yes person, and I was a party person, and I was just like, let's do it. Are we going for a bike ride tomorrow? Yeah. And I think that's kind of, I'm not like that now. I'm a lot more worried about tomorrow because I'm 44 and I'm a dad and all that stuff, and I want to live a long and healthy life. But I also think that, let's bring it back. This is a mountain bike podcast, but I think that's one of the things that mountain biking has given me is that because I love it so much, it just gives me the perfect excuse to get in the woods and to be outside, to be in nature, which is such a big part of mountain biking, whether it's on your own or in a group. Just daylight, get on top of a big hill, stop, pause, logged off, silent. I don't have a podcast going, sorry. I've got my notifications off. Yeah. I don't have email on my phone. And that just gives me so much, man. Just to keep my head straight. And I'm doing exercise, which has always been a constant part of my life, my whole adult life, and hopefully will continue to be. And those things help me to sort of prophylactically unfuck my head. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And helps me deal with pretty much everything, you know. And the fact that I'm really lucky, like I've got an amazing wife, where we got really good.
Does she tell you?
Good thing.
You need to go for a bike ride, Ben.
Oh, I thought you could say, does she tell you she's amazing?
I get it a lot. I get, you need to go on your bike.
So, get out of the house.
Yeah, you've been in it much.
Yeah, exactly. But we got a real good thing going on, and we trade time. She needs her time to go running or to go to her yoga and stuff like that, and she rides as well. She knows the score. She next Saturday I've got the kids. She's going to Bike Park Wales.
There you go. That's cool.
And it's rad. You know.
That's cool.
And I've got good people around me, and some of my good army mates actually live quite close in Bristol. So there's always someone you can shoot the shit with.
That's
and stuff.
Cool, man.
So
you come out of the army.
Yeah.
You're into training anyway. It's always
Yeah,
been
man.
a thing, especially through being in the army. You start being a personal trainer.
Yep.
Is that just generic personal trainer?
Generic, yeah.
Okay, so how did the mountain
Weddings,
bike
holidays, yeah.
element start to factor in?
So basically, I would consider myself a lifelong mountain biker. My first proper bike, 1995, Kona, Fire Mountain, fully rigid. Absolutely loved it. Did like rode loads through, rode through uni, loads of mountain biking at uni, like full XC though, basically.
Yeah.
But then the army is just too busy, and it wasn't really an army sport like it is now. There's loads of army at all the races now, and Navy and Royal Air Force. It wasn't a thing, and we were just too busy. So I basically didn't ride for my 20s. And then I got out of the army, and I had a bit of money saved up. So one of the first things, obviously, bought a mountain bike, you know, and started getting back into it. But we were living in Hammersmith, so I was riding down the road from here at Swinley, which is a bit average, but they didn't exist in the 90s. You know, there's like a tailor-made trail, and it was cool, and I was loving it. And then we were spending our weekends driving down the M4 to go to like the Forest Dean, doing Cumcan and Avan, just loving it, just getting into it. And, you know, I was a bit rubbish. I had some fitness because I was into fitness and stuff, but I wasn't a very good rider and didn't know what I didn't know, because I didn't know what was even out there, what people were riding. I just didn't even know. You're
totally away from it.
Yeah. I hadn't been reading the magazines. Right. You know, I'd missed like 10 years of the World Cup and dirt and all that. I'd been out of it, but now I'm like, oh, I'm so good to be back, and I was just loving it. And excuse me, my wife was getting into it, and my friends were into it, and I was like, right, we need to get out of London because we're spending every weekend driving down the M4 to go west. So let's just go down the M4. It's going to move to Bristol, and I'm going to YOLO it. I'm going to start this thing, mountain bike strength factory. I'm going to train mountain bikers, because, you know, I had this idea that it was feasible because there's this like Bike James guy in America who was like the OG online program guy. Okay. And for years he had it himself. I bet he coined it. Bike James, MTB Training Systems. And if he's listening, like,
he was the one.
Yeah, he was the one who made me believe it was feasible. He was a trailblazer, and I reckon he coined it as well. Well, I think he had it on his own for years, and I hope he did as well, because he knows his shit.
So at that point, though, it's interesting. So Bike James is out there doing it for the general public.
Yeah.
Who was training the pros?
Yeah,
Did they have them?
So kind of, I think at this point I was aware of Alan Milway.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the guy in this country, and, you know, arguably the bigger picture as well. Because I'd been going to the races, and I'm quite happy to just go and chat to anyone. So I'm at the races, going to the old UK Gravity Enduros, like those, and wobbling my way around in the second half of the field. And I'd go and talk. I was like, oh, that's Tracy Mosley. I know who she is. So I went and spoke to her. Hi, I'm going to be a trainer for, you know, what do you know? And it's like, oh, there's this guy Alan Milway and this and that. Thanks, Tracy. You know, cool. And I would speak to people wherever I went and just like hoover up info. And I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go for it. And I thought maybe I'll have to do some other PT as well while I get started. But in the end, we moved to Bristol, and I sponsored that season of UK Gravity Enduro that was run by Steve Parr. Okay. And I say sponsored because absolute legend. He let me do it for free. So I just like put like a couple of things up, and
good
he
old
shared.
Bike industry.
Yeah, I know, good old bike industry. And I think I paid it back. I would turn up at the races early and help him set up all the like fencing and the tape and stuff. I'm like, this is cool. And so I got my first client through that, a lad called Joe Finney, who's now one of my best mates, and I train to this day. But, you know, you can't make a living off of one client, and I was training him on his decking at his house with like 2 kettlebells and a pull-up bar. But so to make ends meet and to pay the bills, I was actually doing like rope access, like industrial abseiling. Okay. So I got my ticket for that. So I was like dangling off all the buildings in Bristol.
That's like such a cool job.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, there's good days and bad days. I mean, although, again, origin story sort of thing, like how things come full circle. The good jobs were kind of interesting. You're doing maintenance and power tools, and you're abseiling, which is always fun. On a shit day, you're cleaning windows. Yeah. And I'd be sat there thinking, man, like 6 years ago, I was like a captain in the army, and now I'm cleaning windows. Like, what am I doing in my life? But I knew it was a means to an end to get this other thing going. And one day, I'm cleaning the windows on this massive block in Bristol. I look, that's MBUK. Sick. I'd heard they were in Bristol, and I'm cleaning the windows on MBUK. And like, I recognise that guy's on the wrecking crew. And I just sort of sat there, like hanging on my rope, just like being nosy. Oh, like carry
just
on.
voyeur outside.
Yeah. I was like, this is MBUK. This is sick.
That's amazing.
Anyway, fast forward a year later, and I'm kind of getting into the Bristol scene. And again, I've always been good at talking to people and making connections and making friends. Probably a year, maybe 2 years later, I was on the wrecking crew, like as a freelance bike tester. And I was going into that office to see like Rob Weaver, like absolute legend. I think you've had Weaves in here recently. Yeah,
we have.
I'm seeing him this week actually.
Nice.
And he gave me a shot. I'd already been doing some bike testing and reviews for Wide Open, which I kind of pitched. Right. And he was like, yeah, sit, yeah, do it. And then I ended up doing, and then I'm on freelance on the wrecking crew with like a long-term test bike, and I'm in the mag every month. I was like, a year ago, I was at the other side of that glass with a bloody chamois thing, and like, look at this, you know? And wow. It's just quite a cool little story that about really how, cool, man. You know, like life's ups and downs and twists and turns. And from testing, cleaning the windows to getting given a free bike to test for the year and writing about it, and then doing a photo shoot with like, my first photo shoot was with Steve Bear. Was it? Yeah. Absolute legend in the game. And I crashed into one of his light tripods. I was like, oh God, this is awkward. But yeah, so then anyway, sorry, I've waffled, I've drifted off.
Super interesting. Please.
But yeah, and then I go from one client, Joe, to 2 clients, to 3 clients. I start selling a few online programs.
And what were they, just PDFs at that point?
Yeah, PDF all the way, bodyweight program, PDF, like 15 quid or something.
Yeah.
With like really poor quality photos and stuff in, just because it was so hard then to actually get like good photos without spending loads of money.
Because your phone, give or take.
This is like 2012. Okay. You know, like your phone camera was rubbish, and there weren't all the apps.
Big then.
Huh?
Wide Open was popular then.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Magazine, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was before me. The mag was before. I never got anything in print there.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, then it just started growing, and then it'll be my 10-year anniversary in the next month or so of going full time with Strength Factory.
There you go.
So for the last 10 years, my full-time job, all I do is work for myself, and I do strength performance for mountain bikers from like World Cup racers and EWS racers, and you know, I helped Vero prep for Rampage last year, which is sick.
Yeah,
like, I've known
really
Vero a long time. I've worked with her a long time. Yeah. To selling online programs all around the world, and then in the gym every week. Like most of the coaching I do is basically like mountain bike dads.
Is it? Yeah.
I do about 12 hours in the gym every week where mountain bike dads come to me as part of a healthy lifestyle to be a bit fitter and a bit stronger.
Yeah.
I coach them in small groups, and we have a great time. They work hard. Well, the main risk is just chatting too much nonsense about tyres and the World Cups and all that stuff, and not getting any work done. That's the risk. And so that's what I do now. And so that's, you know, and I've really kind of become known. You know, I guess most of my content is aimed at like those dads, you know, the mountain bike dads, you know, and women as well. But most of the people who consume my stuff are men. And it's saying, you know, how can you just be a little bit better every day?
Yeah.
How can you enjoy your riding more? Like, that's what this is all about. That's what my message is. And it's saying, everyone listen to this, you know, you can all be a better rider.
Yeah.
If you want to be.
Yeah.
You can all be fitter, you can all be stronger. You know, right now it's the 3rd of February today.
God, yeah.
I know. In 6 months, or even in 3 months, if you want to, every person watching this, listening to this, could learn to manual in that time in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
You might think you can't, but you actually could.
Yeah, you actually
like,
could.
You actually could.
If you apply yourself to it, for sure.
If you've never done any strength training before, and I think everyone should do strength training, then you could all be like noticeably stronger in the next 3 months.
Obviously,
that will affect your...
In society as well, it's becoming more and more apparent how important strength training is as you age.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing, obviously, to consider. So let's try and break this down. So how has your training changed in those 10 years?
Yeah.
You know, like what does a regular workout look like? How are you assessing people? I'd love to know just
for sure
more about the whole thing.
So I think rather than
I'm getting to that age as well.
getting
okay,
you got there, mate. You've arrived. So I guess the first thing is to say, look, sometimes I post a little thing about what I'm doing just because it's interesting, or maybe it isn't, I don't know. But it kind of doesn't matter what I do. I guess what has changed more is that I'm now more open to more approaches. I think where young coaches and, where me in the past, it's easy to get really narrow mind, narrow focus, like this is the only way. Okay. And the thing I've really learned in the last 10 years is there's 1,000 ways to do this. Yeah. And where I've got better as a coach is appreciating that it's 3 people in this room and there's 3 different best ways for you all to be fitter, stronger humans and better mountain bikers. And it's really seeing all the different things, like rather than thinking we must do barbell training, we must do kettlebells, or you've got to do the assault bike or Zwift or whatever. It's just realizing that these are all just tools, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel that it's about having a big toolkit, and then the right tool for the job makes it easy, doesn't it?
For sure.
And so the tools that I use for like a 20-year-old lad who's going to race downhill World Cup, if he can get in, he's a privateer, but another subject, awkward, are, some pretty intense, some pretty heavy barbell work. He's training like five days a week or 5 or 6 days a week. He's got some gnarly intervals, because he can recover well. He doesn't have any other responsibility apart from a bit of a side job and stuff.
Yeah.
That isn't the right tools for a 45-year-old dad with his own business and 2 kids. That would just grind. If I did what he's doing, it would grind me into the ground, even with the training, the experience I've got, And so, I always say to people, like, start where you're at.
Okay.
That's a piece of advice I'd really give to people, because it's easy to start just copying something you see online, or starting where you think you should be or where you used to be. Men especially are guilty. I used to be in good shape. I played rugby at uni. And then life happens and dad bod kicks in, and then you think, oh, that's what I can do. And you quickly realise you can't, and they end up injured or just burnt out. They can't maintain it. And actually, you just got to start at the start. And so how do you figure that out? Well, I'm big for assessment.
Okay.
And you can do that in 2 ways. You can do the sports science. You can get on a turbo trainer or a watt bike or whatever, and you can lay down some numbers, for different, there's loads of tests, FTP tests, ramp tests, sprint tests, whatever. Do all of them. Yeah. That's cool, And then you do some training and you retest. Am I fitter? Am I stronger? But then the other side is the more subjective. It's how you feel when you ride and comparing yourself to your peers. Like when you go on your group ride, where am I in terms of endurance? Am I the one who's always flagging at the end? Or am I one of the good endurance people? If there's a steep climb and everyone's standing up on the pedals to get up it, am I one of the powerful ones who can get over the top? Or am I one of the less powerful ones who always stops halfway?
Yeah.
You can do it with skills as well. Like look at your peers, look at your riding group. Look at the people you race against. Where do you lose time? What sort of tracks? And then you can get a good idea of where you're at. Mm-hmm. And then, again, the analogy that I used before, I did this on a YouTube video last week, is Google Maps only works if you put your start and your end destination in. And I think too many people start training and they're only thinking about the end destination, Davey. They're thinking about that goal, the race, the holiday, the trip, or whatever it is. And that's cool. You should think about that.
Yeah.
But they forget to put the start destination in. And without that, you can't plot the route. Because the gap between the two is the work you need to do.
Yeah.
That actually rhymed by accident.
It was good.
I've never said it like that before.
Trademark that.
Happy days, yeah. Get out on the shorts. But that gap that's what you need to achieve.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a finite goal, like a specific race or a holiday or a trip, then you've got the gap. That's what I need to fill. I need to be able to ride further. I need to be able to ride back-to-back days. Instead of being able to do 1 minute tracks, like around here in Surrey, I need to be do 5 minute tracks or whatever. And then you then apply the tools you have available. So there's no point stressing about, I should be doing barbell lifting if you're training in your garage and there's no space for a rack. Well, no. You could do something else. Get some kettlebells, get some dumbbells, get some bands, get a step or whatever. And then what's realistic for me? Because, you know, the only hack for this is consistency. And it's like, that's so boring, Ben. Like, give me something good. Give me something. Give me a soundbite. And I know, and I think like maybe my social media would do better and stuff like that but I'm sticking to my guns, man. Like my message is about consistently mastering the basics, Davey.
Right. Okay.
That is it.
Yeah.
And look, let's tie that back to the first half of this.
Please.
War stories.
Call it a callback for the professionals.
Yeah. Oh, is that nice? Happy days. Where the best riders and the best soldiers have the same thing in common, is that they can both execute the basics to a high degree of skill under pressure. So the best World Cup riders, it's all about who can keep the best and the most consistent body position and continue to look up and do all those things that make up riding. And yes, sometimes they do something insane that just separates them from everyone else. But the reason they're really good in the first place is that they've mastered the basics of mountain biking. Just like the best soldiers aren't the ones who can do like anything fancy. The best soldiers can consistently do the skills of a soldier with your weapon, the way you move, the way you communicate, the way you react under pressure. Because it's easy to do that when you're not tired and there's no one shooting at you. Now do it when you've had 3 hours sleep a night for a week and there's someone shooting at you and one of your mates has been shot in the chest and it's dark and you're shitting yourself. That the best soldiers can do that. And they do it again and again. And the British Army produces soldiers like that consistently. And that is a parallel where the best racers, Loic Bruni, he can produce the basics to that highest degree on World Champs Day consistently, can't he? Like no one else. And so they're, you know, like bring it back, call it back, whatever you call it. Call back. It's about consistently mastering the basics. And again, even in training, let's compare the pro rider to the average, you know, the weekend warrior. I don't love that term, but you know, it's not a disparaging one, but I think everyone knows what I mean. Is that what was I saying? So the pro rider, we like to think, and maybe they portray on social media, they're doing loads of jazzy stuff in their training, but the majority of their training will be mastering the basics. They're going to be doing the boring stuff, doing it with a high degree of skill probably, and then as they get stronger, as they train for years as a pro athlete, they do it to a high degree of intensity, you know, or they can do it more often than we can because their job is to train and recover, you know. They have fewer distractions. What
would some of those basics be? What's an example?
Cool. Yeah, let's
trying to find some, you know, some parallels. So
and takeaways.
Basketball is probably going to be shooting threes.
You
can take that away. You just do that.
Yeah.
So in mountain biking, what would the basics be? Like?
So
after the break. All right, gang. You might think I'm being rude with my laptop, but I'm actually looking at the COMPEX website. I was trying to figure out what to talk about, and then I thought, well, I've got my molecule ball right here because I pretty much always travel with it in my bag. COMPEX have been a sponsor of ours for years, and I guess it can be a little overwhelming when you go on the website and you see all the different products, and maybe you're like, I don't know about that, I don't know about this. But the molecule is a perfect starting point to learn about COMPEX products and also recovery. So let me tell you a little bit about my molecule ball. It's a pocket-sized vibrating massage ball designed to target deep, hard-to-reach knots. The ones like that you get when you've been biking all day and you're beat up. So it's got 4 levels of vibration. You can go from a gentle recovery to like, let's just break every single knot up in my body mode. I also suffer with plantar fasciitis, so I'll often get it, put it on the floor, and I just roll my foot along it with it on a sort of medium vibration setting. I guess you can think about it as like a post-ride tune-up. You can use it on your legs, your back, your bum, your shoulders, anywhere basically. Gets the blood flowing, loosens up those tight spots, and it makes you move better the next day. It's also TSA approved, so you can fly with it. So unlike that weird multi-tool that you sometimes travel around with that you get pulled up for, the molecule is going to be safe and sound. So if you want to recover like a pro and you want to start with a molecule, just head to compex.com. You can learn about all the different products. You can obviously learn about the molecule, and you can take advantage of a pretty massive offer courtesy of the guys at COMPEX. If you enter the code The Ride Companion, all in capitals, that's The Ride Companion, over at compex.com, it will knock you a whopping 20% off all products. And when I say all products, all right, that means you could get, what else could you get? You could get a TENS machine. Again, I've got the COMPEX Mini. It's amazing. Use it most weeks. You could even get yourself a bundle. They've got bundles like the relaxation pack. You could get yourself, God, mate, you can get so much stuff here. What else? Other packs they got? They got recovery pack, runner pack, relaxation pack, knee pain pack. Probably need one of those. Back pain pack, could do with that as well. Pain relief pack, probably do with that as well. And they've got the core belts as well. So if you want abs like Peter Andre, you could probably get yourself one of those. Anyway, I'm waffling. The Ride Companion is your code. COMPEX is your website. 20% off is your deal. Cheers, COMPEX. What an ad break. Unbelievable. Once again.
Killed it, big dog.
Consistently delivering on fantastic ads.
Consistently delivering the basics of podcasting and exceeding expectations. There you go.
That's our new tagline.
There you go.
All right, so we were gonna discuss the basics. What should people be focusing on to become better riders?
Cool. So let's start off the bike.
Yes.
The basics for me are going to be hitting the main like movement patterns is the jargon word. So squat, okay? Mm-hmm. And a squat could be a million different things in a way, depending on where you're starting, you know? It could be a bodyweight squat, a goblet squat, a back squat, a front squat, whatever, you know? But whatever level you're at, it's trying to do it to a high degree of quality so that you move better, and then the positive effects it has on your mobility and things like that. Mm-hmm. A hinge, which to visualize is actually kind of your riding position. It's hinging at the hips. Position. Yeah, like sitting your hips back, putting the weight into your hips and bum, minimal knee bend. So that'd be things like deadlift, Romanian deadlift, kettlebell swings. Again, at the right level for you. And some people might start off, you know, I'll teach people to hinge just with their body weight, you know, and I want them to drill it again and again so they hit the right positions, work the right muscles and strengthen that position, because that's a, you know, human movement effectively, you know, that we need to be better at, to be better humans, to be better riders. And then upper body pushing, okay? So press ups. Sounds really simple.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people murder a lot of press ups, you know, where I'm like, oh, if you do a lot of those, you're going to know about it if you're like lower back or your shoulders and posture. So right, let's fix that. Let's get this good. Let's drill it. Yeah. But then it may also be for another person, bench press, dumbbell press, you know, shoulder press, like pressing overhead as well. And then the opposite of that would be upper body pull, you know, so we could do body weight rows on like a TRX or a set of rings or under a bar, or we can pull a dumbbell, we can do pull-ups and chin-ups. And again, there are people who will come and see me, I can do chin-ups, and they get their chin over the bar, but I'm like, well, I really think we need to tidy that up because their shoulder blades are all over the place and they're hunched up their shoulder and it's all in their neck and not, you know, and I hate this idea of telling people that they're doing stuff wrong. So anyone who comes to me who can already do a chin-up, I'm stoked on, because actually it probably in society it's becoming less and less common that people can, you know?
Yeah.
As people get bigger and they get weaker. The two things go together. And then, so if you can get your chin over the bar, then I'm absolutely stoked. And I'm not telling them it's wrong. I'm just like, that's brilliant, mate. We're just going to tidy it up a bit. Right, let's back it off. Let's try this out. And then we're going to work at their level, strengthen it, improve it. And then we start to ramp it up, you know, because when it's like that, talking about starting where you're at, people, when they don't have the basics, they quite often end up going like too intense in the gym too soon. They want to do like a circuit or like a WOD or whatever, you know, they've seen online, I'm going to do this. And they're just doing high intensity training, like high rocks is like the thing at the moment, or it was CrossFit, but all of whatever.
Yeah, CrossFit seems to be struggling at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's waning a little bit. And look, I'm not for or against anything. I'm not bashing it. There's amazing CrossFit and high rocks coaches and workouts, and they can be really useful training methodologies. They're tools, aren't they? But if you just go into that with what I would call like dysfunctional patterns, you're like running before you can walk, you're just getting really good at repeating shit movements. And so maybe that you get a conditioning benefit or like a fitness benefit, but actually you're teaching yourself to do suboptimal things again and again. It's the opposite of mastering the basics, mate. You know, you are training yourself to repeatedly do the basics poorly at high intensity and high speed with minimal rest. And you get to the end and you feel, oh, sick workout, bro. You're like all sweaty, you get your selfie, put it on Instagram, hashtag beast mode, you know. And look, and again, I don't want to be elitist. If that's what you enjoy doing, it's 1,000 times better than not doing anything. I never want to tell people they're doing stuff wrong. I just don't think it's helpful. But I'm just going to say, if you love doing that a couple of times a week, then maybe let's meet in the middle. Maybe do that once a week, and maybe do it my way once a week. And actually, my way once a week will be slower, be steadier. We're going to drill down on the basics. I'm going to slow you down, so you're doing a 3-second lower on your squats, because I want you to get good at the basics. And then guess what? You're going to get stronger, and then that's going to transfer across to your high intensity, which will then get better. You'll do the exercise better, and guess what? You're going to be stronger, and those positive movement patterns and your improved postures can then go to the bike, where you can then master the basics. Because the basics on the bike is your posture and your body position where you're stood on the pedals, basically. Basically, that's the basics, isn't it? Yeah. And, you know, this weekend we could go up the road from here to Swinley, like I said earlier, or we could go down the M4 to pedal a bike away at the Forest of Dean, or you could go any trailhead. And not in a judgy way. I'm not, you know, this was me 10 years ago. And you're going to see people riding around who just clearly don't have the basics dialed. Maybe they've been doing it a long time. They just never had coaching, or no one's told them, or they're new to it or whatever. And I don't judge. I want them to be better. That's all. To have that awareness. And they're riding around on like bent knees, and their arms are straight, and they're wondering why their quads are burning, and, you know, or, you know, they can't drop their heels because their ankles are too tight, and they can't sit back into the hinge because their lower back hurts because their hips are too weak, or their core's not strong enough, you know. And when you get the basics off the bike, it then lets you more easily, more consistently apply the basics of body position on the bike. And I encourage everyone I work with, and I've said this, you know, I've been on a lot of podcasts, skills coaching, man. Seriously. You don't, you know, just because you can ride a bike, like, you don't teach yourself to ski probably. I didn't teach myself to snowboard. No. You don't know, everyone has tennis and golf coaching. You know, whatever we think about those sports, you know, it's a bit like we're counterculture, we're cooler than that, aren't we? But, you know.
With the basics, again, possibly a dumb question, but the world I live in these days is always pushing for like overload. So are you, let's say you do start with a back squat. Yes. Let's just use that as the basic exercise that someone's just starting. Are you focusing on the movement pattern? Obviously focusing on the movement pattern, but are you also trying to add every time?
Yeah.
You always want to be in that cycle of progressive overload.
We always want to be, so progressive overload, like happy days that you know that. That is that's at the heart of training, isn't it? Yeah. That's what makes us adapt, is progressively doing creating more stress on the body that then causes the body to adapt, whether it's to be stronger or to be fitter. That's the most broadest terms, you know. And there's different ways that we can do that, but certainly at the start, with somebody, I just want to see they're competent and safe. Yeah,
Yep.
That's step one. And if someone comes in, they're competent and safe, and they've got some training history, either on their own or with someone else, and we can just load it up straight away.
Yeah.
I'm like, what have you been squatting recently? Oh, this or this. Okay, cool. We'll start a little bit lower, make sure their form stands up to the increased load as we go up. Maybe we do more warm-up sets the first time. So I want to just be really confident. But at the other end of the scale, like the other guy who's maybe broken their ankle before, they don't have the mobility to squat deep, we're like, right, we need to change this, we need to lift your heels, maybe we don't go as deep, or maybe actually a squat isn't going to be right for you.
Yeah. Progression
can come in many ways, so you don't always have to add weight or reps every single time, you know. And in fact, I would suggest that you shouldn't, you know, because you could do 3 by 10 back squat with a given weight, and you do that in one of your sessions like once a week, and you could just do the same weight for 3 weeks, and each week you hopefully have a little less fatigue or soreness from it because you're adapting, so it gets a little easier. Each week maybe you move faster in the squat. Because you've got stronger, you can take the same load and now you can stand up faster with it because you're stronger. Or maybe, you add a rep, or, you know, you add. But I think the thing, especially with the big barbell lifts, is it's always tempting to make big jumps with the weights, you know, especially lads, if I'm honest. For sure. Women are way more sensible.
And it depends where you train, because sometimes you have to.
Well, if they don't have the 2.5s or whatever. So, there's loads of ways you can progress, whether it's add an extra set, add an extra rep, move more quickly, or just the perception that this is getting easier, it's time to go up a weight, you know. But that should ultimately be the goal. Obviously, that's finite, you know, there's only so heavy you can go, isn't there? And then...
Super interested. Again, with this, I really want there to be takeaways for people.
For sure.
Watching and listening. I think we're speaking to a similar demographic. I think a lot of people watching or listening to this will probably be middle-aged. There's going to be some younger people.
Midlife riders.
Midlife riders. There's going to be some dads out there. And there's going to be a lot of busy people out there, man. That just don't have that much time. So let's think, maybe someone's listening to this, watching this, full 9-to-5 job. What is your advice for someone who is a busy mountain biker that only gets time to ride at the weekends, maybe once? What should they be doing throughout the week?
This is a reality, and this is the biggest hurdle that I get with people who get in touch with me through Instagram, website, any of it. And when I speak to people are busy. And the simple fact is, the first bit is kind of a hard... I kind of give a bit of a hard answer in a way, where if you're already busy and now you want to add, now you take, I'm so busy, I can hardly breathe, you know, I ride once a week, but I want to add strength training. I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to take out? That's the reality. And sometimes I feel like a dick for saying that, because if you're already busy and stressed and tired, adding, even if it's something positive, isn't always feasible or able to be consistent. Now, maybe, look, I'm being a bit mean in a way. You can like rejig, you can rearrange. But people say, I need to find the time for training. And I'm always like, where? What? Is it under the table? Like,
you're going to magic it?
Like, where is it? Because you're not just going to find it. It doesn't just magically happen. You need to make the time. And so that probably means you need to sacrifice something else. And again, it's a harsh truth. And I kind of feel a bit harsh for saying it, like a bit of a dick, like whatever, but I can't see any other way. No. Like, you are like the average of the things you do. And if you currently prioritize other things over your health and fitness, then your health and fitness will be poorer. If you then make changes with how you spend your time, your effort, your money, your energy to prioritize your health and fitness, as I think you should. And look, I don't like to tell people what to do, but to me, it's like kind of, you should.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to live a long and happy life where you can mountain bike till you're 70 or 80? I want to be riding in my 70s. Yeah, I call it now. I'm going to put it, you know,
right.
I do.
That's it.
And barring bad luck, because shit can happen to any of us, if I look after myself and I do prioritise my health and my fitness for me and my family, hopefully I'll be able to do that. And it's because I say no to other things, or and I prioritise my time in that way. I organise my diary, and I've got freedom to do that. I'm self-employed like you.
Yeah.
But I've done that on purpose.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, lifestyle design.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But there has been that. You know, I've read 4-hour work week, and I've done all that stuff. And I've worked really hard to get to where I am now, where I've got time to. I give myself a sports afternoon on a Wednesday to go riding, just like uni, just like the army. I never stopped. But and I know everyone can't do that, but you need to make some time. So what's taking up your time? Where can you make it? And I guess the first thing I say is, you know, the people who are working from home now, post-COVID, and you used to commute, that commuting time, what are you doing with it? Because COVID sucked, but for the people now who don't have to commute, who used to commute, that has been a gift.
Yeah.
And don't let it just be an extra half hour scrolling your phone in bed in the morning, or doing an extra half hour of clearing my inbox, you know, endlessly, you know. That's a gift. That's your time.
Yeah.
You've been given that time to exercise now. Your old commuting time, even if it's just to walk around the block and get some daylight and get some steps in before you sit down for 8 hours. But even better than that, could you go for a ride? Even if it's for half an hour, or a trail run. Or can you go in the garden or your garage or your living room and do lunges on the spot, press ups, and get a resistance band to do some pulling? Boom, boom, boom. Is that the perfect optimized mountain bike workout? No. You know, I'd love for you to do more.
Yeah.
Is that 1,000 times better than just sitting there, like waiting to like log in and sitting on your ass all day? It 100% is. And when you do those small things consistently, that's when you make real change.
Yeah.
You know, that change from not doing it to doing it, you know, and then all of a sudden you get in that little habit. It becomes a routine. It takes a bit less willpower to do those things, to go to the gym for 45 minutes on your lunch break next to work, you know. And it's a bit of, you know, it's a bit of work. You have to be organised. I need to pack my PE kit in the morning, and I need to maybe bring a snack with me, you know, so I can get back to work on time. So it is some work. It's some effort. And at first it's like, but then guess what? You go consistently. Yeah, you start to feel it on the bike. You start to see it in the mirror. You start to feel it the way you hold yourself, that, oh, this feels good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm into this. So even if my legs are sore sometimes. And then when you've got that, it takes less willpower and less bandwidth to go. You know, so you get through that, push through that. And now, guess what happens? You start to think, and other positive habits come along with it, you know, that kind of habit stacking, it's called, you know, which you may have read about, or where I'm in the habit now of going to the gym and trying to make myself a bit better, or doing this workout in the morning. And because I've done that, I'm now more inclined to have a healthy breakfast or a lunch,
through for sure.
Or rather than going to wherever and getting a shitty Greg's lunch, you know.
Wherever
Greg's, yeah.
What's that? Plummet now.
Yeah. But like, seriously, if you're eating that stuff regularly, like, what are you doing?
True. Sure.
Do what you want, you know. But
I've been enjoying like a lot of quite low level cardio.
Yeah, awesome.
But just doing jobs. So in the morning, I've been trying to make a habit of going to the gym or just a walk with the dog, but the gym and just sitting on the bike and just doing my emails and just getting that done in the morning. Yeah. You know, because I was really struggling. I've been lifting a lot recently, which is great. But the cardio has been lacking. Yeah. Because you don't, you know, you can go to the gym for an hour and lift, but you're like, okay, I've actually not really done much actual cardio. So I've been trying to make my 45-minute-ish cardio be emails and doing, and you've made it work for you while you're walking and stuff like that, and just try and fit that in. But yeah, you're right, especially with the COVID thing, with not traveling as much. Yeah, people have been gifted 45 minutes that time or whatever it is to travel to work. Definitely.
And then it's just about, for me, middle-aged, whatever you want to call it, and for a lot of people though, even if you don't have kids yet, if you just got a full-time job or it's stressful, you might be like 25 and listening to this and you live on your own or live with a mate, but your job's full on, or you've got other commitments. I think the only way to do it is through like conversations and communication and your relationships around you to allow you to do it. Like I said, like I went riding this weekend. Next weekend, my wife's going to Bike Park Wales, and and in the week we jig things around. Oh yeah, I'm going to go out with the boys. I'm going to do a night ride on Wednesday. Can you pick up the kids? Okay, cool. I can do that. And then or you go and speak to your boss and say, look, I really want to like focus a bit more on my health this year. But I'm really struggling for the time. I wonder if you can sort of flex me a bit. On a Monday, I'll only take a half-hour lunch break. But on a Tuesday, I want to take an hour and a quarter. That gives me time to go to the gym and have a shower. But I really think as well, I'm going to be, more kind of productive as a result of being like a bit fitter and more alert on those days and stuff like that. Can I work 4 long days and finish early on a Friday to do an extra ride? That you don't know until you ask.
It's true.
Yeah. And if you
9 to 5 is kind of a...
Sorry?
9 to 5 seems to be kind of a old thing these days.
I mean, for some people it's a thing. It's like rigid, bang,
for some people
in.
It definitely
But for a lot of people it isn't. And there might be more leeway. And you might speak to the boss and they'll be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you can try that. Let's do it for a trial period. And you do it and you don't take the piss out of it. And then, absolutely rinse it. And then maybe you've got a bit more energy and you're a bit more positive at work. And look, let's tie it back. And you enjoy your bike ride more on the weekend. What's not to like? But, there's no solution. There's no magic solution to I'm really short on time and busy. Because if you just add to that, you're just even more short on time and even busier. But you're just doing, it's still positive. I would still rather you trained, And there's no easy answer.
No.
That I know of anyway.
No. And if anyone does know, please comment it in.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that person, don't we? We're like, God, they've got like 28 hours in a day. Like every time you're like, I'm doing this and this and this. And they can just go. And you always wonder, how on earth do they do that?
I know.
But most people aren't like that. Or at least they can't make it last.
It's definitely changed for me, I think, as I've got older. Definitely realising that, to be honest, I probably need to focus on sleep more than I ever have done. Because I feel better when I'm sleeping properly. And, I've always kind of known that, but I actually now need 8 to 10 hours. Without that, I am slacking. Yeah. I don't feel good. I get yellow eyes and I just feel, I just feel...
a snake.
Yeah, I just feel awful. Like it's not, So I think even... making sure you're also focusing on that is super important, and that makes the bike rides easier and better at the weekend as well.
100%. Like this is another part of my message, if you like, is I call it the other 23 hours. So we all get focused in, Ben, what should I do at the gym? Should I do 6 reps or 8 reps or this squat or that squat? I'm like, and all of that is important. Let's do the best session we can and do it, master the basics. But actually success and failure in the bigger picture, whether you are trending upwards and being fitter and stronger and healthier and improving your riding, is often determined by what's happening in the other 23 hours of your day, rather than that 1 hour in the gym or an hour on the Zwift or whatever. Are you sleeping? No. I'm really stressed. I can't sleep, or I stay up too late on my phone. Well, your training's going to suffer. You won't make as much progress. Or I eat like a 6-year-old, I just eat like chicken McNuggets and fucking junk food and processed food. Well, guess what? Your energy levels, your progress, your ability to recover from training will be reduced, and you're not going to be as much, and all of those things that happen in the other 23 hours, kind of the basics, if you like, master the basics, are nutrition, which isn't necessarily simple, but no. Let's call it simple. Eat mostly unprocessed whole foods. There you go. Hydration. Mostly drink water. Like master the basics. Like drink water every day. Drink some in the morning. Drink some before you train. drink a bit after dinner, but not so you have to get up and piss in the night.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Number 3, sleep. You know, get off your bloody phone. Go to bed on time. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm asleep by 9:30 nearly every night.
Yeah.
And in the week, I get up at sort of 5:30 or 6 to be at the gym. And that's my routine. That works for me. And I don't think I'm missing out on anything staying up and watching more Netflix or whatever. You know, who knows?
It's true.
And then, you know, we've got the exercise part that we kind of talked about with the gym and on the bike. But then I guess the other part of that is what you might call like activity or movement. Just getting your steps in, mate.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
where
It's really hard actually, because they say 10,000 steps a day.
yeah, I mean,
right?
it's arbitrary.
Yeah, it's 10,000. But when you try and do 10,000 steps a day, sometimes it can be quite difficult.
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
if you work at home and stuff.
Yeah, if you work at home or
I
you
really have
drive
to
a
make
lot.
conscious effort. I'm like,
Yeah.
right, I need to get those steps in today. I need to do it.
But that's good. The fact you said that, you make a conscious effort because it's built on awareness and you're prioritizing it. Because without a conscious effort, it doesn't happen. And you're just like everyone else in society who's just sitting there and they're just like, just not moving. And we're meant to move.
Is if you can, hey, don't listen to me, but obviously if you can walk after you've eaten, God, night and day difference between how you feel throughout the day.
Oh, you think so? Yeah.
Oh, mate, like if you've had like a heavy dinner, let's say you have pasta or whatever it could be, and you've had a garlic bread on the side, you feel like, I feel, not you, not everyone, I feel like crap for hours. If I just go for a 15-minute walk after, activates all these little muscles in your stomach, or you know what I mean? It gets everything moving.
The jigging about gets your bowels.
Like you feel so much better. You get home, you're like, oh, I feel good again. Ready to go.
100%.
Crazy. Made such a difference.
And it's finding what works for you, and that's obviously a big thing for you, and you should do that then, you know. And again, it helps you to recover from exercise and training. So if you do like a hard session in the gym on Monday and you're real stiff Tuesday morning, go for a walk, man.
Go for a walk.
Like,
Yeah,
just
that blood
get out
flow
and walk.
is really helpful.
And it keeps, you know, and it gets the blood flowing. It helps you recover. Helps you to feel better. Hopefully, it gets you outdoors in daylight. Sorts your head out.
Yeah.
Log off as well. I mean, obviously, if you're not listening to the Ride Companion,
log in.
Turn your phone off. Or leave it running at home for the numbers. But it's just, if you're not leaving the house all day, it's just bad news, you know, and everything else will be compromised physically, emotionally, mentally.
You just touched on that briefly, I guess, about recovery from a workout. What about, you know, someone who's riding at the weekend and they're finishing the ride on a Sunday and they're really
Wrecked.
not having a great time on Monday? Yeah. What are your go-to things that you should do on a Monday to help you recover, to get back biking again?
Well, I'm actually going to hit the rewind button and go back to before the ride, because your actions, the things you do and don't do before that massive epic on a Sunday that wipes you out, they're going to have a difference. So big ride on a Sunday, I want a big dinner on a Saturday night, and I want it, you know, to have enough carbohydrate in there. So like load up the carbs. If you know it's going to be a really big hard ride, then an extra scoop of pasta or rice or potato or whatever it is, the carbs, increase it, okay? And again, mostly just whole, healthy food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then again, in the morning, make sure you're fueled up on the ride, you know? Nice big brekkie. Stay away from the really high-fat stuff.
Macca's.
Like Greg's or the Mackie D's drive-through on the way is not optimal. So that's the first part.
What is an optimal one? Let's just give someone something. Porridge?
Everyone's optimal is different. I'm hard to tie down for like absolutes, because I'm really careful about it. But for some people, porridge is optimal because they like eating it. It's convenient for them and they feel good when they eat it. And you can absolutely fuel up on porridge with a load of carbs, and you can easily just chuck some protein powder in. Depending on how you roll, you could do it water or milk if you want more calories or less calories and more or less fat and all that sort of thing. And you can get a load of fruit in there. Happy days. For some people, like porridge works quite well for me at races. And I'll have it cold usually. I'll do like an overnight oats. Like that's my go-to. I'm doing an enduro race and I have a massive Tupperware and I soak it overnight, because I find porridge on the day upsets my tummy a bit.
Okay.
So this is where everyone's different.
Yeah.
If I cook it from scratch in the morning, number one, you've got all the admin of cooking like on a campsite. Number two, sometimes my tummy doesn't like it. If I soak my oats and add a little yogurt in there so it's all alive and all that goodness, I find I can eat an absolute shit ton of it and feel good for the day.
Okay.
For someone else, if you don't get on so well with like grains and stuff like that, not so good. Or some people, it's like energy, despite all the fibre, and then it's a bit like woozy afterwards, you know? So you got to experiment. For some people, like eggs on toast, you know, have an extra bit of toast, have some fruit on the side to bump it up. Coffee, of course, obviously. You know, you don't ride without that. Or tea, maybe.
Or survive, to be honest, at this point.
So fuel up. And now we're on the ride, mate. We're on the ride.
Yeah.
And again, I think the main thing is hydration and fueling, you know. So in that first hour, can you have a cereal bar? Simple. It doesn't need to be sports nutrition and fancy. I'm not hungry yet, but I know it's going to be a big ride, and I struggled last week, so I'm going to have a cereal bar in the first hour and start drinking my bottle and have a little plan. If you know there's going to be a halfway stop where I can fill up my bottle, then try and drink your whole bottle in the first half of the ride. There's no point drinking the top inch of your bottle in the first half of the ride when you could fill it up.
True.
And then you're dehydrated at half, and then you're behind the curve. And so just keep that going, and then post-ride, I mean, plan A, you know, for the more performance-focused people, I'm like, have a shake ready in the van, a recovery drink. You could just go straight protein, but I would go for more of an endurance recovery drink, which would have 3 or 4 parts carbohydrate to 1 part protein.
Okay.
And look, you know, if you're training hard, if you're burning a lot of calories, it's been a big day, then get the scoops in there, you know, make it thick. And, you know, while you drive home, like try and just drink that over the next sort of hour, just sort of steady, just get it down you. Again, find what works for you, what's right for you. Some people find like, after a ride, it wrecks my stomach, you know. For that person, have fewer scoops, make it waterier, have a bit, maybe then have it with another bit of real food. Just, there's nothing wrong with having a sandwich. It doesn't have to be fancy, you know, but get some calories in, get some protein in, get some carbs in. And then I guess the bigger picture is how well you sleep sort of before and after it, how well you sleep in general. That will improve your recovery. And also, are you in general, in the bigger picture, in the week before and after it, do you eat enough calories to support the amount of exercise you're doing? It may be the other way. It may be that you're not moving much, you're eating too many calories and putting on weight, you know, but, you know, in that, you know, where are you? And are you hitting a daily protein target consistently? Because yes, I talked about having a shake directly after the ride, but that's like the whole protein timing thing. You know, you've got to have your protein shake exactly 18 minutes after workout to be optimized. Is like the tiniest minuscule of like marginal gain, and it's only relevant if you're hitting your total protein target consistently daily anyway. The most important thing is, most days are you getting close to or hitting 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day? So I'm about 80 kilos. So most days I need to try and eat 160 grams of protein. Okay.
That's just for maintenance.
Yeah, and that'll kind of cover you for training, and you know, if I like wanted to like bulk up loads or whatever, I'd probably take a bit more, increase that, so I'd want to increase my calories as well. And just the other thing to bear in mind in that is, if anyone listening is sort of taking that number, if you are carrying a bit of extra timber, if you're a bit overweight, you know, if you're 10 kilos overweight, then that's going to then translate to like an extra 20 grams of protein and all the calories that go with that. So kind of work off roughly what you think your healthy weight would be.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have a crazy number to work towards.
Yeah. What's your relationship and thoughts on cold after
On what, sorry?
Cold, like
okay.
cold exposure. Maybe someone's got eyes. It's a thing, isn't it? It's a thing at the moment.
It's definitely a thing.
People are doing cold baths.
I thought because you were from the north, you were saying coal, like coal mining. I was like, oh god,
you not eat coal after a workout. That's all we do up there.
Just go down mines.
Just have some gravy and a bit of coal, and you feel great the next day. So yeah, the cold is definitely. I wouldn't say it's even a trend. I don't know. Is it a trend? I'm not sure.
It definitely has been a trend. I think it's still a thing. It's not going away. So again, for me, the basics of recovery are nutrition, hydration, sleep, active recovery. Like that is like 95% of recovery.
Yeah.
Things like cold or the opposite, like sauna, massage guns, all those sort of bits are icing on the cake, but they can't really replace the basics.
Right.
So if you're nailing the basics consistently and you want to see if you can improve your recovery and potentially have other benefits like that mental toughness, I think that's a really valuable part of the cold plunge and all that is making yourself do things you don't want to do. And those aspects are a part of it as well that are separate to recovery. Then, before you go and drop 500 notes on a cold plunge that you then have to put chlorine in and clean out and all that stuff, or you have a wheelie bin on the patio and all of that, just start by having cold shower every day for a month. Do that consistently for a month. Like at the end of your shower, bang it cold, go like Wim Hof style. That's how he suggests you start. Yeah. Are you doing that consistently? Can you increase the time? Can you, how do you feel? Do you think there's a benefit here? And if you really feel there is, then by all means try it. It's not going to be like a panacea for to cure everything and suddenly turn you into a super athlete, especially if you're not mastering the basics. 5 minutes of breath work and sitting in a cold bath isn't going to make up for your shit diet and poor sleep. You can put that one on shorts.
Yeah, it's a clip.
Yeah.
I like
because it's really not.
No.
But having said that, I don't like to tell people what they're doing is wrong. If you enjoy doing it, and if it's part of your routine and it makes you feel good, then do it. Do the cold plunge. Do the sauna. Do whatever, and there may be those other benefits, that mental health, that mental toughness, that resilience, and that's valuable as well. So I'm not saying don't do it. It's just like,
it's just extra.
Yeah, if it feels good, if you want to do it, then do it. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah, that's great. What do you think? I mean, the cold's kind of like a great segue, but what would you say like some of the biggest myths are out there, and especially let's just use mountain bike training as our circle to square.
I've got one.
Biggest myth.
Like I've got a bit of a thing for it, like the whole like instability, unstable surfaces thing, where it got really suddenly came to the forefront when like Nino Schurter and then I think Kate Courtney put some like mad training videos out, and he's like balancing on one leg and he's got all these wobble things and he's hopping about and there's all these different things and everyone's like, well, mountain biking happens on like unstable surfaces, like because the trail's uneven and you're like moving around, so that's how we should train as well. And I'm like, face palm, like it's kind of died a bit of a death, but there's still definitely people peddling that nonsense at the moment, because the bottom line is, well, in the gym and in training, we're not trying to replicate mountain biking in the gym. I'm not getting you to stand with your feet exactly where the pedals are going to be, and we're not holding like handlebars with weights hanging off them. You know what I mean? And actually, really, when you think about it, when you're riding well, if you've got the good basics of body position, it is quite stable. Your feet are kind of like, they're in this level position. They're quite well supported. The handlebars are kind of constant. They flex a little bit, but actually everything's pretty steady. And the simple fact is, I'm not trying to replicate it in the gym. I'm going to the gym to be stronger and to move better. Yeah. And if I'm doing a squat on the floor, I can lift more, I can lift faster, I can lift with more control than if I do a squat on some bloody Bosu ball or Indo board or whatever nonsense you want to stand on. Yeah?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Now, maybe because I'm a pussy and I don't like to always just commit, you know. If you enjoy doing that stuff and it's better than not training, then do something. If you feel like this helps my balance, it helps me to ride the bike, and if it makes you feel good and it's part of what you do, then do it. I'm all about that. Like, if it feels good, do it. If it's legal, you know. It's like, that's kind of how I am. But I would say, like the person doing too much high intensity earlier when they haven't got the basics, to the person who's trying to like balance on a thing and like wave stuff in the air and all that, which I think is like circus tricks. I'm like, I don't know what they do, mate, but you see it on Instagram every now and then, and it makes me want to do a sick in my mouth. But if you want to do that, well, let's just split, meet me in the middle. Let's do like your heavy set here to get you strong, and then while we rest in between those, you just go and balance on that over there, you know, and have a good time, because that stuff is kind of fun. Like, if you ever had to go on an indo board or a slack line, hilarious, mate. Yeah, and they're lethal.
Ankles out.
Yeah,
we used to come home off a night out, bring people back.
Oh, nice.
Let them have a go on the indo board first.
Exactly. So, how did you break your collarbone? Was it a gnarly jump mountain biking? No, I was balancing on a wobble cushion doing my training. Whatever. Yeah.
So, let's say you've got £1 million and you're going to build the ultimate mountain bike gym. What 3 pieces of equipment do you buy first?
Tricky.
Yeah, it is.
I would have a watt bike for getting your on-bike stuff in.
Yeah.
Covers all the bases. 3 bits of equipment. Let's just call it, can we call one bit of equipment a dumbbell rack full of dumbbells?
Yeah,
that's like one thing. A thing of dumbbells. I'll do dumbbells over a barbell for sure.
Okay. So we got watt bike, dumbbells, dumbbell rack.
Yeah, dumbbell rack full of dumbbells from like 1 kilo to whatever, 50, depends how strong you are.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to cheat a bit. I'm going to pretend there's an exposed beam so you can do pull-ups on it. So I don't need to say pull-up because I'd want a pull-up bar. And then I'm going to go for like sneaky third answer is use some of the money to give a load of your best riding mates free membership to build an amazing community.
So it's got a community.
Yeah, because that for me,
that's
like
left field answer, dude. Didn't
yeah, because that's what I'm about with what I do in Bristol, which I'm not even trying to promote. I'm full. Like, I'd love for you to come, but I can't fit you in. Is that part of what the guys who come to see me get is they don't all know each other. Because I've got this niche of mountain biking, the other trainers at the gym can't do what I do because all my people are mountain bikers, and I just book them in groups of 3, like 12 to 1 lunchtime. I've got like my lunchtime crew on a Tuesday, and there's 3 guys who didn't know each other, and now they do, because every Tuesday they work together, they train together, they get stronger together, they suffer together, and now some of them, they go riding together, and we've got a community, and they joke, oh, do you remember that workout last week? Oh, I hate Ben. Oh, wheel size, blah, 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 and that community. And look, go back to it. This is one of the best parts, when you look at a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
One of the things that they had nailed, and they probably still do.
Yeah.
I haven't been in one for years.
No.
They got it nailed. That community is so valuable because everyone steps up. Even if you're not competitive, but you step up your performance. And when you don't, that morning when you just like, oh, I don't feel it this morning.
Yeah.
You still go. Because you don't want to miss out. You want to see your mates. You're accountable. Yeah. You don't want to be the pussy who didn't go today.
Accountability.
So,
is the thing.
To me, there you go. There's my left field third answer is give out some free memberships and get your buddies in the gym.
Yeah, really good answer.
Because having a training buddy, that when you're short on time, or if you're new to training, or if you're a outdoorsy person who thinks you don't like the gym, I'd say, try it, honestly. Gyms have changed a lot, but is get a training buddy. Get one of your mates you ride with. Maybe you're both a similar level, and you both talk about getting a bit fitter. Oh yeah, this year's a year, man. And you both kind of do your own thing, and individually fail by February in trying to do it in your garage on your own. Come together, right?
Join forces.
Mondays we're doing turbo in your garage. We'll set yours up as a turbo den. Wednesdays we're doing like one of Ben's online programs. And look, just pay for one. I don't even care, man. Yeah. Pay for one. Split the cost. Do it together in the other person's garage. Training buddy. And then on a Sunday morning before the group ride, I'm going to see you there 10 minutes early and we're both going to do a little warm up together. That's basics. Now we're talking. Now we're making progress, you know.
Yeah. Accountability.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, imagine if you had to do every ride like on your own.
Dream.
I do love riding on my own. I'll be honest, I do.
Yeah, I'm joking.
I do, but I'm lucky. I'm in a position where I don't always have to. I've got both options.
We got a few listener questions I want to get to as well. How are we for time, Dougie? My man, we got about 5 minutes. All right, we're getting close. We made what? A speed round.
No worries.
Speed round.
When did you do that? I didn't even know. Cool.
Okay. My question though. So you're gonna have to be relatively
quick.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people now doing some of these bigger events, bigger races. Maybe they're going to go Trans Madeira, Trans Provence, Hard Rock. A few tips that people should have in their bank, ready to go to those events and enjoy it. And not just suffer through it like I do.
So let's focus on the multi-day ones. I've trained a load of guys and girls for Trans Madeira, Andes Pacific, all of that stuff. Number one, you've got to program in some back-to-back days. If you normally only ride a Saturday, right, first of all, let's plan in a Saturday, Sunday. 2 days back-to-back, practice what you eat, drink, recover, go again. Mm-hmm. And then the next stage is, right, can I get a half day? Can I do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday? You know, get those in, super valuable. And then also to go with that is you cannot hack training volume. You need to get a decent volume of low intensity aerobic training done. And then the third part of that is hike a bike is the thing that wrecks people on many of those events where normally on a ride you don't pick up your bike, do you? But
no,
I don't.
No.
And then all of a sudden you've got an hour hike a bike to the top of a mountain and it's hot and you haven't picked up your bike in years, you're not sure how to carry it, and your calves explode because you don't do any trail running or hill walking or calf raises. Mm-hmm. So number one, get your calf and lower leg strong by the running, skipping, calf raises, that sort of good stuff, and then practice hike a bike. Okay. How do you pick up your bike? How do you hold it on your shoulder? And then actually do it. You look like a maniac at the trails, but carry your bike up the bloody hill. There you go.
Great. Love it.
Was that quick enough?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Bosh.
Right, we're going to do a few listener questions. Before we do that, because I don't want it to be rushed, you did mention you will have an offer for our companionship. For the people who listen to the podcast, who watch the podcast, they deserve a little bit of something, mate. Give them something. What you got?
So I do a range of mountain bike training, online programs to suit every rider. So I've got my two main things are the over 40s mountain bike program. Guess what? It's a bit kinder on your
top
body.
Seller.
It's a bit steady. It is, it is my top seller. And I've got riders using it all across the world. It's all delivered by app. And quite simply, use the discount code TRC, all capital letters, no spaces, TRC, and you're going to get, what did I say?
That's 30%. Easy to remember. Just TRC.
Just TRC, that's
3 letters, 30% off.
Bosh, boom, boom, boom.
Mate, what a dream.
30% off, you get lifetime access. It's just really good. It's been a game changer for loads of midlife riders. And the website people go for that? So thestrengthfactory.uk, where you'll find it on the programs page. And then for the younger ones or the more performance focused, maybe you want to race enduro and it's a bit more intense, I've then got the complete mountain bike program, which is a subscription. For the same code, you'll get 50% off the first month and you get a 1 week free trial. And look, all my programs are covered by money back guarantee because I don't want to just sell you. And I want you to get better. So if you don't get better, if you don't ride fast, if you don't like it.
So you're basically like
whatever,
guaranteeing podiums,
success, feeling better on your bike, feeling fast. Like literally, if you don't ride faster in a month, drop me a line. You know, like you should be.
Yeah.
And I'm not about quick fixes.
No.
These are like, this is about consistency. It's about the long term.
About accountability, consistency.
Yeah, because that's the name of the game. And I've got people who've been on like complete MTB for years now. And they're going and doing stuff like Trans Madeira and racing enduro and racing nationals, or they just do hard rock once a year, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so get on that. If you've got any questions, yeah, slide into the DMs.
Lovely. Beautiful. All right. How long we got, Dougie? Where are we looking? We're going to do some quick fire questions.
Yeah, 4 minutes.
Oh, wait. Time's gone up. Hey. All right. Quick fire question round. Bob T. Knob. Always gets me that one. Well done, Bob. Why train when you can buy an e-bike? I could have submitted that question.
Well, I just wanted to say, I was going to say just straight away off the cuff, I was going to say, because you wouldn't just be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day, but and like not be a little bit sad and ashamed of yourself. Because but I'm joking, because I've got an e-bike. I love e-biking. It's better than not biking and so on. But look, it's about more than that. It's about doing this for the long term for me.
Yeah.
You know, being fit, being healthy, being strong, being able to be like an active dad and looking after myself and look after my family. But also, look, how easy is it going to be when you can't lift your e-bike onto the bike rack at the back or get it in the van, or you're like an absolute passenger on it? Because I think we've all experienced that e-bikes are actually, if anything, a little harder on the upper body.
100%.
And you're doing 2 or 3 times as much descending per hour than you did before. Well, to me, I think maybe you can get away with doing less leg work. You can skip leg day and just do beach weights, all right?
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever. But yeah, there you go.
Great answer. Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky?
Imagine.
NHL? No way.
Imagine, dude. It's I think it's his nephew, you know. Off the bike reflex training and hand-eye coordination training for gravity athletes? Question mark.
Okay, so the question mark is the right way to end that, because I think there's a bit of a question over transfer here. So I think he's meaning things like you're doing juggling or reaction, like catch the ball, and you see some of the World Cup riders do that before dropping in.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say anything is wrong, but my understanding of like the sports science and stuff is that doesn't necessarily transfer across to improved reaction times and performance. However, what that is very good at doing is getting you very focused on something and take your mind off of it. And if it's part of your process and it makes you feel good when you drop in because you haven't been like stressing about other shit, then that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's great. Well done.
That one started flashing. Is that all right?
Yeah, we can cut that.
Cool.
All right, last one. All right, last one. Fullwood Trails. What training can I do without spending any money?
You could, let's have a think. Ride more, number one.
Yeah.
You can ride more, get an extra ride in, flex that time like we talked about. Certainly in the UK, a lot more parks and public spaces have got these workout gyms. Some of them are rubbish, but actually some of them, you know, all you need is a pull-up bar and a bit of space and you can do loads.
True.
You want strong legs, go and like do some Rocky Balboa up the steps.
Carry some rocks.
Carry some rocks.
Rocks are free.
Yeah. You said for free, nearly free. I'd give it a few weeks right now, and all the fitness stuff's going to be getting sold on Facebook Marketplace. So people have given up their January resolutions. You're going to be able to pick up loads of cheap fitness gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just move. Just use your imagination. Get down the park.
That's a great one. There's a lot of towns and cities and whatnot are putting, villages even are putting those little.
Yeah.
And they're all right.
Yeah.
Like
Go
so
to the
as long
pump
as there's
track.
a bar.
How many pump tracks are popping up? Now there's some training for the physical and the skills, man.
Yeah, I'm mental.
Yeah.
Nothing will break you.
Yeah, concentrating.
After a few
yeah,
laps.
like that is as specific as it gets. So go to the pump track, assuming that you're allowed to buy a pump bike because it sucks on an enduro bike.
Yeah, true, very true. Mate, this has been great. It's been cool learning more about the backstory.
Yeah, it's a bit
super interesting.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming and doing this, man. It's been cool to sit and chat and learn more about you that even I didn't know.
Yeah, well, no one did.
There you go.
No one did.
There you go. Fascinating.
So yeah, let's see how it goes down. Like I'm a bit nervous in a way. Like we'll see. It feels weird saying those things, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm like showing off or trying to be all bend big balls about it because I'm really not. It's just like these mad experiences
Yeah, you've lived it.
that I had.
Yeah.
And it was just pure luck that I had them, that I was in that unit at that time in that place, and those things happened. And to me, yeah, it's just part of who I am, like it or not.
For sure. I want to end on one thing that I've wanted to do for ages. It's going to be super quick. You've got a billboard. It's everywhere around the UK, on every street corner. What are you writing on it?
That's the old Tim Ferriss question, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I love that question. So good.
Be kind.
There you go. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And on that note, be kind. Hit like, hit subscribe. Check out Ben's website, thestrengthfactory.uk. And just be positive. Be a nice person.
Yeah.
And let's wish everyone... let's wish Ollie luck in Turkey, because he's up against it out there, getting the old Brazilian bum lift. And then he's back, actually, in a few weeks' time as well. He's getting his eyes changed colours. Anyway.
Happy days.
Thank you, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Thanks, Ben.
Cheers, bro.
Mate, what an episode.
Brilliant. I thought you were really great, Davey.
Mate, and I thought you were even better.
Thanks, dude.
Better
Thanks,
than
dude.
normal.
Oh, cheers.
Hey, how about we tell our lovely podcast community to hit subscribe here.
Yeah.
Click on the video on Ollie's face.
That's right.
Click on the video on my face.
Yeah.
And follow us at the Ride Companion on Instagram.
They can like and comment as well.
Please do.
I'm going to try and get this energy and I'm going to bring it into next week.
Let's fast forward to next week's episode.
Done.